Maloile day, talofa lava, and hello, howdy to everyone. In
Hmm.
this, depending on what part of the world you're at, here in New Zealand, it is about 4:51 p.m. So it's a nice afternoon here during our summer days here in
Saturday,
New Zealand.
right?
Saturday, yes, Saturday here. Beautiful weather. What like to welcome you all to the live digital kava session on the Polynesian Nights podcast. Here with Dua from Texas, Central Texas. How's it going down on that side of the world, Dua?
It's going good. Happy Valentine's Days to those
Happy
who are still in
Valentine.
Valentine. I know Mr. Atero is a day ahead. We're
Yes,
old news. They already
yes.
had Valentine's. It's rainy and misty here in South Central Texas. Kind of, how when I don't know if those who are familiar with areas that snow, when it snows and it's almost like a foggy, the air feels heavy. Just
Mm,
imagine that, but just mist. That's what San
okay.
Antonio feels like today. The wife and I went out to dinner, celebrate Valentine's. Once again, grateful another year. She still loves me, so still
Nice.
tolerates me, hasn't kicked me out, you know. But came out kind of unusual. Felt like, man, this is what it feels like when there's snow, but it's just not cold. And that's
Mm,
why we live in warm weather, masi,
mm.
because we love that kind of stuff. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
really excited for today. We have a good program for everyone here. We're going to start off before we jump into it, Masi. Anything else you want to kind of touch into?
Ooh. No, just touch on the Valentine's. I know yesterday we kind of planned to do something, Tua, but
Yes,
I got caught up because it was our Valentine's, and then I ended up picking up my wife from work, and then we ended up going for dinner for Valentine's. So
good choice.
that's why that didn't work yesterday. But I'm glad we were able to do one after you took your wife out in the family for Valentine's. So and wish
Yeah.
everyone if you have your wife or your spouse with you, wish them happy Valentine's. And if you are single, look for your next spouse. But
and
come next year, you can celebrate Valentine's. But
and if
yeah,
not, we'll celebrate Valentine's on the live digital kava session
yes,
here.
yes,
Right, the
yes,
Polynesian
yes.
Ice Kalapu here. We welcome you, and
We are here.
we'll be your Valentines. Even
Yes,
though
sir.
I do agree with Mr. Atearoa, it's better you go find a real Valentines. We're just a fill-in, right? We're
Yes.
just a substitute
Mm.
until you figure out what
Temporary,
you need to do.
temporary. Ew.
Short term fix, guys. We
Yes.
don't want this to be the long-term solution, right? Just like one of our short videos that we released today or yesterday, where we talked about government assistance shouldn't be plan A or the long-term plan.
Correct.
It's
It's
a
a short
plan
term.
B. It's called a safety net for a reason. And the best thing for you and the family is, hey, use it if you got to. There's nothing wrong with using it. That's why it's there.
Hmm.
But we as Polynesians, as seafarers, as like Moana and them say, a tautai, rather,
Yes.
we take the future with faith. We're bold. We say the future. You don't go out as a voyager to discover new things if you don't believe there's an island out there. That if you don't
Correct.
believe that there's opportunity out there or something better for you, then our ancestors wouldn't have been voyagers. They wouldn't have been going out risking their lives just to say, "Oh, I knew there was no island out here. We're just out here to suffer and die." Yeah, we're a very optimistic people. We're a very resilient people, and we're very driven by faith in the future. So I don't know
Yes.
where that came from, but that's what our message is for that.
Yes. No, that's good. And I just want to let everyone know that we're live on YouTube,
Yes,
Facebook, also live in what else? Too, you can kind of add on what else?
Instagram,
Instagram,
Patreon,
Patreon,
and X.
and X. There we go. There we go, everybody.
Yes, we're still on. We're on X. We're trying to help our cousin Elon with all the hard
Elon
work
Musk.
that he's doing, but we'll dive into some U.S. politics later on.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to start with, Mr. Atearoa, is some commentary on social media.
Okay.
Um, and you know what? Why can't I see? I can't see. Oh, maybe it's here. I don't see the thing where. Oh, I know why. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, usually the presentation button is right in front of me, but then it disappeared because I changed to a different screen. Um, Let me bring this up. So can't really see it here. Let me try and zoom in. Um, oh, okay. Let's actually start with this video,
Okay.
right? So there's a video online. This is where the comment I made on this video. This individual is called Polly Lore. Has some interesting content, right?
Okay.
He goes into like Egyptian cosmology, Egyptian
Mm-hmm.
economy. He makes or she makes some connections. Some of them a little bit. Everybody has their own ideas,
Yeah.
just like people listen to our ideas and like
Yeah.
these guys are crazy. So we all feel that about each other. But
We've
here,
had we've had
right,
some comments too to it, right? That people have the idea also that there's some connection to ancient Egypt, right?
correct.
So yeah, we've had kind of some of our viewers are kind of the same line of thinking of kind of where the Polynesian people kind of came from that ancient Egypt. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So what we're gonna dive into is in this video, they talk about the Ha'amonga, or in the Samoan or the Ha'amoa's perspective, the Amonga is
Mm,
what they call it. It sounds like, and they have some interesting ideas there. So we'll just start by watching the video first. There's a connection to Egypt.
mm.
So basically, it was
Okay.
showing like the Samoan Islands are part of the Orion constellation and so
Okay.
forth. And in the comments, well, it looks like there was quite a bit after my first comment.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
in the
Like there did.
comments to the video, right? My comment in response to the video was, "So why is the Ha'amonga built in Tonga?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? If
Yeah.
if the Ha'amonga or the Amonga is such an important constellation, which we agree it is,
It is.
why is the Ha'amonga then on Tongatapu and not somewhere in Ha'amoa?
Correct.
Any thoughts on that, Masi, before we go into some of the comments back and forth here?
Uh, I think we kind of mentioned it, right? The reason why it's in Tonga, the origin, that's where everything starts. It's kind of like the whole origin of Polynesian society where it started, right? The Ha'amonga, full name of the Ha'amonga is Ha'amonga Maui. We believe that Maui built it to help with the constellation of navigation throughout the whole entire island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the seas, right? So, and what makes Polynesian unique compared to the European, because right, the European people that were probably the best navigators were the Vikings, but they only used
Mm-hmm.
the North Star as their direction, cardinal direction of navigating the seas. But they were not; they wouldn't be able to navigate the southern hemisphere seas because there was no North Star, right? But the Orion is you can use that to navigate both northern
Correct.
hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So that's why the Ha'amonga, the Orion constellation of stars, is very important to Polynesian um, navigation, right? So that's just me to add on to that, Tua, unless I don't know if I'm missing something or
No,
you need to share.
100%. It's the Ha'amonga Maui and the Hook of Maui are the two critical
Mm,
constellations, right? For 6 months of the year, depending on where you are in on planet Earth,
yeah.
right? For 6 months, Ha'amonga Maui is the key one. Then, because you rotate and the Earth um, revolves around the sun, the other 6 months you don't see the Ha'amonga Maui and you see the Hook of Maui, and
Mm,
that becomes the constellation. So, depending on which part of the year will
okay.
determine that constellation. But it seems like the best time to travel, typically, or at least for a lot for the Tuitonga and the Ha'amaui, it was the Ha'amonga. That was the critical piece for navigation. And um, so here's some of I really want to talk about. Let me see if it shows the comments. Because really they're trying to say here, Polylore is you really think Ha'amonga is a Tongan word. It is a cognate of the Samoan word A'amonga that was introduced with the ancient Manua bloodline along with the Tu'i title. Hence why it's known to be an ancient word in Tonga now. The name for Orion's belt is Alotolu in Tongan astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Amonga Ha'amonga is the Samoan metaphor for the pillars that hold up the heavens. Balancing pole, Amonga Orion's belt. Okay.
Interesting.
So yes, it is very interesting.
Yes.
But for the wrong reasons, right? Number
Yes.
one, the Ha'amonga is called Ha'amonga
Yes. For
in the
Orion.
sky as it is on
Correct.
Earth. And the
Yeah.
Alotolu is the three stars that's part of one of the Toloa constellations. And that's
Mm.
why it's called Alotolu, the three
Yeah.
rowers.
Yeah.
Therefore, the three rowers means three stars, and the
Mm-hmm.
Ha'amonga is 4 stars.
Four.
So right off the bat there, that's something that just kind of just when you do a common sense analysis of it, and we'll get into the details on how to break this down. But this is why it's important to have these conversations, right?
Yes.
If
Very
if you're
critical.
yeah, if you're just talking back and forth in a faikava or hanging out with buddies or on social media, which we promote conversations everywhere,
Yeah.
but
In
without the
all
right
forms, in
knowledge,
different
yeah,
forms.
all
Yeah.
forms, but without the correct knowledge,
Mm.
polylore seems relatively convincing. And I've read the reason why they believe this, and the reason why is there was a Westerner, and I think it's the same one. I could be wrong. The same Westerner who documented that Maui Fusifonua was in Ha'amoa and that Tangaloa and them went to Maui Fusifonua to get his hook, blah, blah, blah. That's
Correct. Correct.
either the same guy, if it's not the exact same guy, but it's the same setup. Some Westerner asked someone in the royal family or someone in Tonga, what is the constellation Ha'amonga in the sky? And they
Mm.
said, oh, the Tongans said that the Tongans call it Alotol.
Mm.
And therefore, people like polylore, which we don't blame them because that's some of the documentation that's out there, right?
Mm.
When you're an, how do I say this to be not offensive? When you're an outsider looking in, you have to rely on data points from other people, right?
Yes.
But when you're on the inside looking out, you don't have to rely on a missionary's account of what Tongan astronomy is. This is why Tevita Fale's work is so critical. He wasn't an outsider looking in. He was sitting down with not just one source, but multiple sources that said, no, the Alotolu is not the Ha'amonga. The
Mm.
Ha'amonga is not the Alotolu. And not only that, actually, here is what the sky looked like to our ancestors, right?
Yeah.
And let me just pull this up real quick. Let me change it. Any comments, Mussy, while I pull
Yeah.
up
No, I
this?
was gonna say, so the Alo Tolu Tua, what the polylore is referring to is what we say for the Toloa constellation.
Part. It's a part of the Toloa. It's called the Toloa or Puatau Kanave.
Okay.
And I'll
Okay.
show you. I'll show you the work that
All right.
Devita Fal has done on that. But it's like basically the wings of of the Toloa, one of the side, the right side of the wings, depending on what your or how you're looking at it. But let me share it real quick.
Mm.
So this is the Ha'amonga, right? Part of Orion, right here. This is the Alotolu right here. These three larger stars, the three larger stars, part of the Toloa. The head
Okay. Where's
points to the
okay?
three.
Where's Alo Tolu and Ulu Tolu kind of thing?
Yeah.
Where it's okay.
So what Polylore is trying to comment here is he's saying, oh, the Tongans called the Ha'amonga Alotolu
Hmm.
because this person, this Westerner, documented it as so, and therefore everyone's saying, "Oh, that's what it is." This is the type of miscommunication and misunderstanding and misappropriation of knowledge of ancient astronomy that we're talking about. Because if you were talking to someone and you pointed into the sky, hey, what are these? It's easy to be like, oh, are they talking about the Ha'amonga or are they talking about these three stars right here? You see how
Mm,
easily miscommunication can happen,
yeah.
you know? So yeah, that's the thing that I think is important. And oh, looks like we have Slick Rick, Malo,
Hey, welcome,
welcome.
welcome, Slippery.
So this is the type of commentary that we're talking about. So here we have Polly Lore telling us that the Ha'amonga is Samoan, even though there's no such thing as Samoan and Tongan from back in the day. But he's trying to tell us the Tongans called the Ha'amonga Alotolu, and Alotolu is this. And like I said, even from a common sense, why would we call a four-starred constellation Tolu,
Alotol. Yes, yeah, yeah.
right?
That
Right
doesn't
off the
fit the
bat, that
logic.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So we really want to clarify that because
Well, and
in
then
his comments, he's like,
yes,
show me how it is. It's like, well, buddy, I know why you believe that, but this is the reality. Any comments,
yeah.
Masi?
No, and I was gonna say, and the other question is, why is the Ha'amonga in Tongatapu, right? Not in
Yes, exactly.
Upolu or Manua, for say, because they keep referring to Manua being like the place of origin. And if it was that important, and the founder, and to me, I wouldn't have a problem if it was in Manua, Upolu, or Savai. If there was a
It doesn't matter.
Ha'amonga,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, right? Because we're all kind of the same Polynesian people trying to figure out our and discover our origin. But the question you would have to ask yourselves, why is the Ha'amonga a Maui the critical part ruined for navigation in Tonga Tapu? There's a reason, right? Because it's the place where Maui, kind of the first Maui, I believe, right? The first Maui settled, built it upon uh, Tonga Tapu, and it became like kind of like, I don't know. I feel like the source of the knowledge of navigation, of navigating the stars. So
100%.
that's why it's in Tonga Tapu. That's why it's in Tonga Tapu.
Yeah, and we're gonna dig into this. Like, I just want all of our viewers and everyone. We're gonna drive this home that it's almost undeniable that not only the fact that the Ha'amonga is on Tongatapu, but it is so ingrained into every aspect of the culture. It's like my next question is why is it on Tongatapu? And I did ask this on social media. Show me where in the Ha'amonga culture of the structure of the culture that shows me that the Ha'amonga was that important to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're gonna show you on this episode how critical the Ha'amonga was, not just as a megalithic structure that is kind of like a major deal, not only in Polynesia but around the world, but how big of a deal it is for the Tongan culture as a whole. And we're gonna dive into some of these. Let me open some of these. Let's open this one up because I have a variety of pictures. We're gonna start with the Ha'amonga itself, right? This is one of the reasons why we don't believe the Ha'amonga was, quote unquote, an entrance to Atu Itonga's residence,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
If you're just walking along and you see, oh, look, it looks like a door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of
That's what an
similar,
outsider would say.
would say.
Yes,
Exactly.
for
That's what an
sure.
outsider would say, right?
Yes.
And then you come back to, let's use this. This is one of the covers of Devita Fale's books, right?
Hmm.
And if you notice something, this is the equator, east to west, right?
Hmm.
And if you notice also, you see the Toloa
Yeah.
inside, the
Hmm.
Ha'amonga goes like this, right? It goes across down here and cuts it in half. So the
Hmm.
Ha'amonga, it's a reflection of not only the solstices and dividing of the seasons. It also represents the double V. That's why the
That's on
double
top.
V was
It's on top
carved
of the
on
house.
top of the Ha'amonga.
Yes.
Like, these are all very different pieces of knowledge, all integrated around the Ha'amonga,
Hmm.
right? The Ha'amonga tells you the seasons. The Ha'amonga tells you the where the sun rises and sets. It tells you the best times to navigate. It is also the navigational tool for 6 months of the year to give you direction. And I'll come back to, let me see if I can find it. Oh, I have to, right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Can you see that, Masi?
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm going to zoom in. See, and you see it here, all integrated.
Mm,
And this is all work done by Tevita Fale. Oh, sorry. Okay, maybe I have to use the mouse. See, once here, you have the Ha'amonga, right? The seasons, the
yep.
months of the year, right? The double V, rising and setting of the sun. Let me see. I need to move this way. How do I move? Okay. Sorry. Any comments, Masi, while I try to navigate through this?
No, I mean, I'll just comment on the aspect of the ha'amonga, like what you're saying, how it's very important. And me being in Ha'amoa for a good majority time, Ha'amonga will, it's not, to me, my understanding, it wasn't a thing that reflected their culture in a per se Tua. So I'm interested if maybe what is this polylore maybe can put some evidence of the Ha'amonga reflection in the Samo, in the Ha'amoa's structure, because like we said, the Ha'amonga is very critical in the whole our kava ceremony, and also
Mm-hmm.
also understanding what the Ha'amonga was there for, right? It was like a sun gate, telling where the sun was gonna be and the different times of seasons of where the sun will kind of ascend and also descend, right? So when sunrise and sunset. So yeah, no, that's just kind of my comments
No,
there.
appreciate that. So will come here and we'll talk real quick on a question. So Slick Rick. Well, first we'll go to Mo. Hey, Mo Malo. He says, "What's
What's
up,
up?
Tonga kids?"
What's up, Moy?
Malo. So Slick Rick asks about this right here, and I'll highlight it. This is a Olmec, and and he asks, "What's the structure there for?" And the answer is, Slick Rick. You see the 3 points over the head. That is part of the double V symbolism, right? Like right here, right? That's the double V. This is the double V. And that was the same double V that was found etched on top of the Ha'amonga. So it's the same knowledge that the Egyptians had, right?
Mm,
And just like showing here, the tying of the Ha'amonga to the Milky Way and the moving of the constellations. So to answer that question, Slick Rick, the etchings on top of those holes on top of the head is tied to the double V.
and is that pretty much an Olmec kind of feature, or was that more like a Mayan? Like, what kind of is there
So
any?
the Olmecs are kind of like one of those mysterious kinds of cultures. They're found
Mhm.
everywhere, and one of the oldest in the Americas. They predate the Mayans and so forth.
Correct, correct. Okay.
So, but yeah, really, what I wanted, I tried to zoom in here, but for everyone, this is once again, you see the Ha'amonga right here,
Yeah.
right, and then you see east, west, north, south, and the Ha'amonga. And actually, let's do this. So I'm going to open up another set of um, photos here, and I think this will help people appreciate the kind of work that Devita Fale has done. Um, because I don't know anyone else like Devita Fale likes to say, no one is stupid enough like him to do this work.
Yeah.
That's that's
Yeah.
that's his go-to phrase, right? Is he's all like, no one is stupid enough to do this like
I,
me.
I, it's stupid because he was able to do it and still have a family. That's what he's trying to say.
Yes, Yes.
That's the crazy thing. He was stupid enough to do it knowing there was gonna take a lot of sacrifice that you don't know what if you're still gonna have a family or not.
Family or not. Yes. And that's why no man can do anything without a good wife supporting him at the end of
Correct.
the day.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Here's interesting. I did see some of those comments, Slick Rick, where Hancock and Joe Rogan on his podcast say they believe the Olmec to be like African or Polynesian just because of the
Mm,
nose and the head shape, and so forth. And Moe says, I have a feeling that the Ha'amonga was the center, and from there, Polynesian people went out from all that. That's what we believe as well, Moe.
yeah. Yeah. By
100%.
far.
That's our perspective. Um,
You know, another thing too, I was thinking it could have been the Ha'amonga maybe area when it was kind of first being built inside. I feel like that was where they were mapping out where all the islands were, and they're
no,
gonna,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like I feel like it was a significant place for the early existence of people in the various islands in Polynesia.
100%. And that's one of the reasons why, Masi, I say there must have been a written language at some point because you're out, or at least at the very least, like you're saying, map drawing,
Mm,
right? But once you're
mm,
map drawing, this is, I made a comment in one of our previous episodes that I said I believe that our ancestors knew that the earth was round, right?
mm.
And the reason why I say that is because of this knowledge.
Yeah,
If you
it's just so
observe that the
yeah,
sky moves like this,
yeah,
well, what shape is that? Right? And that the
yeah.
sun moves. And well, what shape is that? It doesn't
Well,
take, once you understand the sophisticated nature and the predictable pattern of the heavens, the natural thing you would think is, oh, yeah, the earth is round.
yes. Well, right. In the early Europeans, they've always thought the Earth was flat for a long,
Yes.
long time because they
Yeah.
only had one cardinal start that they were kind of going by when they navigated just that side of the world. But when you remember, we kind of mentioned it before. There's the Orion and then the Hook of Maui. So there's no way if you have those two knowledge that depending on the season, you would have to think there's no way the world is flat. It had to be
Exactly.
moving and around or something, right? So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No,
That
and
makes
it makes perfect sense because look, this is so what I'm going to show with everyone here is just one example of some of the work that Vita Fale has done with his star maps. Okay.
sense.
So this is 1 year of De Vita Fale's work, 1 year of observing the stars from Hawaii over a year. And he drew out these maps every night, going out, watching the sun, the stars move and mapping them, right? Like
Mm,
our ancestors did for
yeah.
thousands of years. So this is someone, and now to think, now multiply what he did there for this one thing. This is on top of all his other work, right? Of the language, of art and history and all. This is just one of the tasks he was doing for 12 months. And as we can see here, there's the Ha'amonga.
Mm,
This is the Milky Way coming across here. And you see the Ha'amonga, it moves from east to west. And you'll watch. So watch where as the Ha'amonga moves right there. So right. So I think this is
2009, from what I see.
2009.
Yeah.
So I want to say this might be December, but I'm going to defer just because I don't know the exact details. But so that's, let's say, December, January, February. You see the Ha'amonga Maui move,
Yep. Yeah.
right? And it's moving with that, like, looks like a fish
Humu.
constellation. Yeah.
What the Hawaiians call it, the humu humu nuku nuku apua.
Apua kind of thing. Yeah. So as you see, and this is why the key to mapping the pattern of the skies is the Milky Way, because you can track the Milky Way as it moves along and everything moves together. So as you go through the year, you just see the Ha'amonga moving together with the Milky Way. And
Mm,
depending on where on the earth you are, right, and the time of year, this is why the Ha'amonga being built on Tongatapu was so critical, because
yeah.
the Ha'amonga on Tongatapu will tell you what time of the year it is. And if you go into the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, it will tell you which constellations you should be tracking when you head out.
Mm.
right? Are you heading out at this time of the year? Which month of the year, right? And if you're planning to be gone for 6 months or whatever, do you
Yeah.
see how this becomes critical for tracking and travel? Um, Looks like we have a couple comments coming this way. Hey, Clyde Moore says, Kia ora,
Hey,
whanau.
welcome,
Malo, malo, Clyde
welcome,
Moore.
Claymore.
Welcome. He said, Oi, is that the Ufi Pit constellation? And well, and what's funny is there are constellations that are Ufi. I do know that some of them are
Mm,
Ufi, but this is an inside joke in reference to the Tu'imanua's such loyal followers that when
followers.
they did the archaeological, hey, you see all these little rock mounds? The most loyal followers of the Tu'imanua, they buried themselves there. They go do the archaeological excavation and found Ufi pits. So the most loyal followers of the Tu'imanua were Ufi. Not trying to be rude, but that's funny. Come on.
Yeah.
And so we'll come back to here. So as you track it, and it moves right here, and then you can see the Alotolu on the inside, right,
Yeah.
Masi? The
Yeah.
inside of the Ha'amonga. Then as the year goes, look at what it pops into. It now switches. The Ha'amonga now,
Becomes
if you're in the northern
Hukamau.
hemisphere, the Hukamawi now pops up. And then you
Yeah.
have the southern crosses.
And that's what you're using to follow. Mm,
Yes. So once again, and then if you watch, look at how it goes across. It's the Milky Way and the pattern of the Milky Way. But as you can see, I think actually this one might be the part of a Ufi, if I remember correctly. But I don't
mm,
want to speak out of turn. Um, so this is the stuff that we're talking about, right? With Devita Fale and the work that he's done. And then any other comments on that, Masi? Because I want to go into some other things, parts of the Ha'amonga. So once again, the Ha'amonga was so important to Ha'amoa, but we don't have this information of how and why it was important to them.
I just want to point out to that. You know that south is that the clouds? What are those? You know these kind of clusters of stars. What are you know these ones? Are those like the? Is there? You know the name for those, Tua?
Yeah, those are the Magellanic clouds up here.
That's isn't that the one to find
So Aotearoa. Yeah,
Aotearoa, right? There's out
yeah,
there, and then Aotearoa is the further one.
yeah.
Okay, no, that's
So
because
this
that's
is this one, yeah.
yes. No, I was gonna say because that was the navigation for the Polynesians in those days to find the northern island and the southern island, which the reference was out there for the northern island, Aotearoa for the further south island. So
Southern.
I just want to make sure because I was like, hey, if I wanted to go New Zealand, I've got to follow those clusters of
Hey, follow
stars.
here to get back for Valentine's. Well, and here's the interesting thing, and a lot of people might notice this. Devita Fale's star maps always has north at the top,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And instead of south at the bottom. And the reason behind that is Tonga Tapu was the cardinal direction. Everything kind of going back to what you said earlier, Masi. The Ha'amonga was where everything was mapped, and so everything points back to
mm,
Tonga Tapu and the Ha'amonga. So from the Polynesian navigator's perspective, your quote unquote North Star or everything points back to Tonga Tapu.
double.
That is the reference point. So from the ancient Polynesian navigator, south was the primary direction on
Yeah,
how they viewed the constellations.
yeah. No, and I think just to verify though, right? If you have the Ha'amonga star constellation of star, and you also had the Maui kind of constellation star, you our people already knew the world was there's no way it was flat. It was always
Yeah.
around. It
Yes.
depends. Just like
Yeah.
you went through that kind of slideshow just to show all of a sudden it changed from the Orion star, the Ha'amonga to what? The Maui, Huko Maui, right?
Maui's. Yeah.
Because it depends on the season.
Not 100%. And so that here's another thing that I said the point we're driving here is, and for those who kind of joined us after the fact, there is a video online stating that the Ha'amonga is based from Ha'amoa, and that the Tongan astronomical name for the Ha'amonga was Alotolu. We've shown that that is incorrect,
Mm,
right? The if you can see here, the Alotolu are the three stars, part of the Toloa constellation, and inside of the Ha'amonga itself. Um, the next thing, and we're going to go over every little detail here. What do we see here? We see Maui's kava bowl. This is why Maui's kava bowl has four legs. It
mm,
represents the Ha'amonga of Maui. It represents that. That's why it has four stars. That's why the double V is in the center, right?
mm.
And it
Because it's
goes
after the
east
hot
to
moment.
west.
Yep.
It's after the Ha'amonga. So once again, the Ha'amonga is from Tonga. And when we say Tonga, that's a reference as the capital of the Polynesian Empire, and all of those things, right? And it's ingrained into every. So we have the kava bowl is built off of that. The
Mm,
constellation we have, like we mentioned earlier. Well, look and behold of right here, the
yep.
Puritaunga. What is
Mm,
right there? This is why the center point of the equator in the Ha'amonga of the kava ceremony, it
halaka.
represents the equator. And how does the Ha'amonga cradle the equator? Well, like this, right
Mm,
there. There's the Ha'amonga. It cradles it. Let's find a better picture of it. Um, let's try this one right here. So there's east west.
mm-hmm.
Ha'amonga cut it in half. Half of the Ha'amonga is in the south. Half of it is in the north. That is exactly duplicated or replicated in the Furitaunga or the Taumafakava. East west, Ha'amonga, part of it is in the north, half of it is to the south.
Mm,
I mean, once again, maybe we're beating a dead horse here, but hard for me to accept the position that our brother or sister, I don't know where Polylore is from, but I'll share the screen, come back to it here. Hard for me to accept this position that the Ha'amonga is from Ha'amoa.
yeah.
Anyways, any kind of closing thoughts on that?
No, I don't think we're beating it like a dead horse to it because one, this is just all part of the conversations and more, and the more people like Polylore and other people in the Polynesian community start just sharing their ideas, the more we can just keep discussing. Because right, we're
Mhm.
all just trying to pick at it, just trying to have at least an understanding on the origin and the reading of the constellation of our ancestors in the past. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good discussion.
and I really want to frame this because coming back to where did the idea that somehow the Tongans believed that the Ha'amonga was called Alotolu? Because a missionary who stopped in Samoa in the
Mm,
1800s also stopped in Tonga. In theory, asked someone in Tonga, "What do you guys call the Ha'amonga?" The Tongan guy or gal says Alotolu. That gets recorded, and all of a sudden, people say that's the reality, right?
correct,
Just
correct.
it's the same scenario with, hey, how was Tonga discovered? Some person, some say it was the Tuitonga.
Went to Fushi for Nua in
Yes, and that's
Manua.
how Tonga was discovered. And I'm like, see, you see why we're hesitant to just fully accept only oral history or even someone's quote unquote record of oral history. This whole situation with the Ha'amonga and the Alotolu is a prime example of why we have to have these conversations. We have to dig into it. And when we dig into it, it really matters where you get your information. And then once again, to reinforce, this is why Tevita Fale's work is so critical. He spoke with not just one of the people who held this knowledge. We're talking about multiple people who were in the right place, who had access to the knowledge. And Tevita Fale had the opportunity to be inspired and educated through that process of understanding not only our history but the astronomical knowledge that our ancestors had.
Yeah.
Um, yes,
Yeah. Nothing to add there. That was perfect, Dora.
perfect. With that being said, we're going to go on to part two of our program here. And
Ooh.
what we're
What's
going to,
happening with our relatives in Hamor?
yes, what we're going to do is we're going to start with, let me put this on mute so we can get through the commercial in the background. But looks like our sisters in Samoa are having some challenges politically, or this is normal. We have those same
Yep.
things in Tonga. This is just part of politics. Um, but what's kind of your understanding, Masi, of what's going on in Ha'amoa politics right now?
So pretty much, right? The Fiame, who is the prime minister of Samoa right now, she's been kicked out by the party that she represents that got her elected to become the prime minister of Samoa. So she's been kicked out with I think the other five
Mm,
of her followers. So apparently, because she's kicked out, and Samoa's constitution states that you have to belong to a political party
have to
to
be
remain
affiliated with a party.
affiliated, yes, with the party. So it's kind of in limbo because this is kind of the first thing this has happened. So right now Samoa's in a dilemma, and they need to figure out if they're going to have a snap election, because the election's only next year, or if they're going to just figure out that the prime minister and her minority followers can at least just stick it out with the party that she got kicked out from until the next election. So that's kind of where things are at. And the reason why Fiame was kicked out is because one of her cabinet ministers was actually under investigation. But we all know how that works. We don't know. We all know because the police indict
Politics,
you
yeah.
means that you're guilty. That happened with Trump, and look what happened. It was all a sham. So we don't,
All fake news.
and right, right. So Fiame asked him to step down as minister, and he's like saying, "No, I'm not, because this is a sham stuff that the police is going after me." So she dismissed him, but he's the party chair, where the prime minister represents, and then he has the majority of his party, and they kicked her out. So this is where that's where it's all happened, and that's right now we're just in a stalemate, not knowing if it's going to be a snap election or if they can at least reconcile their differences and maybe just stick it out till next year. So very interesting dynamics in
Yeah.
Hammoa.
So basically, what we're seeing is a political situation that the Ha'amoa, or the constitution or political structure, hasn't faced before, right? So now they're like, oh, okay, well, what happens when there's this type of politics where there's fracturing in the leading party with the leadership and the
Correct.
PM? So they're going to have to navigate that. Um, I'm going to share this guy. I haven't really listened to this video, but this guy right here, I like a lot of his commentary. He seems like a pretty intelligent guy. Don't always agree, but it looks like he had made some comments where he felt like there's a lot of corruption
Mm.
going on, and hopefully there's not too many f bombs here because he likes to say that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he's definitely those people, those characters.
yeah. So we're gonna play it because it looks like a lot of people were giving him heat for his position on what was going on in Ha'amoa, but we'll just kind of listen to his thought and his position, and then maybe do some reactions to it, and then we'll
Yeah,
go on to our next topic.
let's go.
Really good response. I see a lot of Facebook pages have gone up already. The HIPP ones saying some really derogatory stuff, but
Oh, I just noticed. Look at what's next to him.
Yes, Farikaba, Farikaba.
Hey,
So
Mari,
for those, yes, for those who kind of followed us, we've had a relative of ours, Toko, Fare. That's his kind of Farikaba that he's selling. So yeah, if you are around in New Zealand, man, get a
check
taste
it
of
out.
bottled up kava. It's it's refrigerated and it's easy to carry on. So yeah, you can always get some here in New Zealand if you're interested.
Ten
Yeah.
four.
So it goes in some way. But there's a dude in the comments. I don't know if you've seen it. He's going on about Sam's bail. Have you seen that one?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes,
he's
yes.
putting up the Samoa Observer one and saying,
right.
"Oh, Aliota's mother is the lawyer for Sam," and and trying to tell everyone. Yeah, everyone knows, bro. It's in the Samoa Observer. You know, that's the most popular newspaper in Samoa. It's no secret. Now, it's really good that you brought that up because Sam is in jail. Sam, remember, is the witness of the hit and run, and he is in jail because he tried to tell the media who he saw
Oh,
did it.
have you heard of that, Masi? I did see
No.
this. This is kind of interesting. I did see like a video or a comment about this. So apparently there was a hit and run in Hamoa.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There was a witness who videoed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he takes it to the police and kind of like the FBI here. This is what's funny. We used to think
Yeah.
this was only in like third world countries.
Movie.
We
Yeah.
now I know America is just like that too. Corruption is corruption, wherever it is.
Yeah.
So this witness goes and gives his phone to the police. It like the phone disappears. And then somehow, like he's saying here, the witness goes to jail.
Jeez, that's
But-
crazy.
so the allegation is the video was showing that it was a member of parliament that did the
Who
hit and run.
hit and run, and
And
from
so
the
the po-
HRPP side.
Yes. Some I don't know which one, right? But
Okay.
but it sounds like HRPP is involved in a lot of the institutions in Hamoa. Like they have a lot of control.
Well, because they've been there for like you were talking about
Forever.
20, 25 years.
Okay.
They've been there
okay.
for so long.
So they're entrenched in the institutions there.
Mm.
So that's where he's going with right now. That's the story. Because I remember hearing this. I thought, oh, if we have time on one of the shows, we'll talk about it. But that's what he's referencing right there is a hit and run. And the witness, I think, is the one getting punished. And they find out later they're thinking that they're protecting a politician.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, and the person who he said he saw did it charged him with criminal libel. Now he is in jail because of the charge. They haven't even had the case for it.
Right.
You understand that? So Article 9 of the Constitution says you are innocent until proven guilty. Right. Now he has been in jail since January of last year.
A year.
A whole year, more than a year.
Wow.
The actual case for it is in May. Okay, so this guy bringing that up and saying it's like it's some sort of fucking awesome discovery revelation that he's made. I'm glad you fucking brought it up. It's in the Observer, everyone knows, but look at it, right? And remember, like I was saying, this case you will learn how deep corruption and everything is. So this is a decision made by the Supreme Court to put this man in jail over charges, not of the case.
Wow.
Okay, so you have a right to a fair trial, and it has to be in reasonable time. It's been over a year. He's been in jail for the whole time, and they still haven't had
Like
the trial
January
yet.
6th here in the
And
US.
remember, it's for criminal libel. It's for statements.
It's not for the original.
It's not for hit and run. It's for criminal libel. Now, here's the worst part: is the maximum for criminal libel is imprisonment for 3 months.
Wow.
It is amazing.
So this is to punish him. This is to make a statement.
Because he recorded.
Yeah.
Because he recorded
Because
the
he,
incident.
yeah. Any thoughts on that, Masi, while we get through the commercial?
No, it's unfortunate. I'm also learning a little bit more about the HRPP, right? How they do things. To me, it's interesting. It's interesting, with the dynamics that's going on. Me personally, I used to be neutral to it, and I've kind of recently just kind of gone to the HRPP side. And this is my reason. This is before I kind of, know all of these dynamics and stuff. So one time the leader of the Fast Party, La Uli, he's the one that's kind of been indicted, right?
Mhm.
He comes to New Zealand and he comes and endorses he this person is already passed away, but Official Collins, who was a labor guy running for Auckland mayor, and he's very labor, right? They're super
Far
left,
left. Yeah.
far left. He comes and endorses him. So I was like, dude, that is so weird that somebody from another party that's in government, right, come and endorse. He
Trying
lost
to
and stuff,
get
but I was
the Ha'amoa
trying to
vote.
get yeah. And then to me, HRPP, it's either maybe because HRPP has probably been in the game a lot longer with politics. When you deal with politics outside your sphere of influence, it's better not to do it at somewhere else. And HRPP has never really done that when they have other Samoans in other countries running, they've never endorsed them in their political campaigns or anything. But Fast was doing that for this guy. So ever since then, I've had a bad taste for the Fast parties because I was like, they were endorsing all these, even though they were Samoans, but they were super left labor guys. I'm like, dude, and I really hate labor here
Mm,
in New Zealand. So I'm like,
as it is.
ever since
Yeah.
then, that was just my opinion. Never like Fast, but it's good to see that somebody that's very familiar in Samoa that HRPP with how deep, and a lot of those people have been appointed by HRPP in these institutions, the
A little too
police and whatever.
comfortable.
So, and yes, and I can understand this whole dynamic of the corruption and not doing what you're supposed to do. So, it's politics is very messy like that, though.
Yeah. Not
That's just
100%.
that's just that's just me and my spill on that with my personal
Okay.
experience.
Yeah, this is interesting. So let's see. What's this guy's name again? Okay.
He's a
He would play
that's
for the
Elliot
Mansamoa.
Sapolo. Yes, Elliot.
Hmm.
No, is it Elliot Sapolo? I know he's a Sapolo.
Okay.
Oh, I can't hear it. Do I?
Oh yeah. I put it on mute. My bad.
Already done over a year and a half. By when May comes, he's already done a year and 5 months.
That's messed up.
And the maximum
Yeah, that
punishment
is
is
messed
3
up.
months. You see how fucked up this thing is?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. Look into that case. I'm glad you've been telling everybody. Here's the link to the bail. Look at it. Like, this is pathetic. It's really stupid. Now, the old court system, you could appeal to the Court of Appeal, and what the Court of Appeal would be a group of Balangi judges. Well, not Balangi judges, but foreign judges.
Yep.
Okay, people judges from New Zealand and Australia mainly. Okay, yes, there might be a Samoan judge like Ida Malosi, but they usually send over Balangi judges, right? Now, you let's say you appeal the Supreme Court because they're the ones who have put him in jail for over a year.
That's terrible.
Not for the charge.
Yeah.
Sorry, not for the actual case and being guilty, but for a charge, something that the police have said.
Mm.
So let's say you do the criminal libel, you appeal the Supreme Court, and then you get these Balangi judges, right? Now, these judges coming from Australia and New Zealand, right? Criminal libel doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
So they would come over and face this case. Now, do you think they're going to interpret this and put some fucking insane punishment, right? And reject bail and slam him in prison for a year and 5 months for criminal libel that doesn't exist in their jurisdictions, right? They're going to look at it differently. This doesn't even exist in our jurisdictions. Okay, so a King's Council, the top law.
That's weird.
Mm.
So they have someone who doesn't understand the laws and jurisdiction of Ha'amoa to make those decisions?
When in the Court of Appeals, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lawyers in the Commonwealth made a comment like bail should have been given. Okay, he should have been allowed out, but maybe the conditions be a bit restrictive. But it is insane to keep him in jail
over a year.
And the constitutional rights. The Constitution is the top law of Samoa, right? He is entitled to be treated as innocent until proven guilty. How do you put an innocent person in prison for a year and 5 months before even a case has been done? Before trial. That's not a presumption of innocence. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So in terms of this whole thing will reveal the police, it'll reveal the Supreme Court, it'll reveal the media, it'll show you
he's saying
what's going on in Samoa. And so that's to that dude who just keeps posting up as if that's something amazing that he's discovered.
Oh, glad he can read.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
I was
interesting.
gonna say too. Did he say you have to prove your innocence Because in America, you're trying to you're trying to prove that they're guilty. Isn't that how America kind of
No,
functions with?
he was saying it's the same as here in America.
Oh,
You're innocent
okay,
until proven guilty.
proven guilty.
But
Okay, gotcha.
apparently, this guy, it's guilty until proven innocent, but they won't
Ah,
even give him a chance. He's just saying it's backwards. When the
correct.
Samoan Constitution says,
And
number one, the penalty is
he's
what, 3 months?
3 months, and he's been there over a year.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
you know
that
it's
is
purely
crazy.
political, and it's
Yeah,
purely to punish him, but make
it
a
must be
make a
some.
lesson of him.
It must be somebody high up with the HRPP that had that hit and run. That had
Yeah.
that hit and run case.
Here's a comment here from Straightforward. What the hell did I just stumble into? I don't know. Straightforward, man. Well, welcome. It's good to see
Welcome,
you at the
Polynesian
live
Nights
digital
podcast.
conversation. Yes, welcome, welcome. Uh, welcome again to Tevita Tavi.
Hey, what's
You're
up, Davi?
innocent when you have money. That's like what did they say in Aladdin? Right? He who has the gold makes the rules.
Hmm. That's true. You can't go wrong with that. That's for sure. That's
Oh,
for sure.
TK, that is on our list. We will be touching
We'll get
on
there.
the
Yep.
Miss Pacific pageant here in a little bit because that's very interesting as well. Any closing comments, Masi, on Samoa?
Ooh,
And if not, we'll go into Cook
yeah.
Islands. The Cook Islands has had some interesting news.
Yes. For me, someone in politics, it's interesting that Tuila Epa is still gonna stand for the HRPP for the next coming election. I would think they would had somebody after him because my man is hitting 80 something. But it'll
Mm.
be very interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I already gave my spill just regarding my own personal experience. But it'll be interesting. We'll see how this goes. And yeah, I had a funny story that a lot of the people in Samoa that I went and visit, a lot of them kind of gave the chance to fast, and some of them are thinking, they're not too sure if they're gonna cast their vote for fast again or go back to HRPP. So, because the thing about HRPP, even though they've been there so much longer, there was a lot of stability, even though there was things probably going on. But Samoa under the HRPP, especially in the last 10, 20 years, they made some dramatic changes. I don't know if you remember Tua Upolu Savai used to be like under American Samoa in the sense that they would go in those days. They would also drive on the same side, like the
Yeah,
American
they
side.
switched the road.
So
Yeah,
he made some big political
practical, very
moves,
practical changes.
practical changes that's really facilitated and really moved the Samoan economy in a more growth and growing sphere. So, you know, people still remember that, and also the Samoa has built a brand new airport. It's really nice. If you go to
Mm.
Samoa now, the airport's really nice. Like the HRPP, even though they had their fallings and like what Sapolu said, they're not perfect. Wherever there's power, there's gonna be people who wanna make it corrupt and do it really squeeze that power as long as they
Yeah,
want, even whatever it
that's
takes.
human
So
nature. Yeah.
it's human nature, but HRPP infrastructure and what they've done in the past 10 years, people haven't forgotten it. So, and I'm trying to think, and this is the tough thing about politics, right? If you don't have stability, you have like what we're having now, La Uli, the same party fighting against another party member, Fiame. Then all those resources and time goes into that infighting.
You
Tonga
lose
went
all that
through it.
momentum.
You
Yep.
lose the momentum to kind of build infrastructure to kind of really grow the country. So, and I think people are not fond of that, not fond of that. And that's the thing I admire about the HRPP. When Tuila Epa or somebody's there, they tend to not fight each other and they really focus on building the country. But at the same time,
Yeah.
they're not perfect either. But that's just my spill from
Yeah.
my outside view of Samoa's politics.
No, and this is not something that's unique to Ha'amoa, right? I mean, even
Yeah,
in Tonga, we saw certain shifts when a certain cabinet was in. They did a lot of work, right? Build infrastructure, had a really positive impact on the daily lives of the kingdom, the citizens of the kingdom. And then you have a switch, and then all of a sudden, nothing happens, and then there's infighting. You have votes of no confidence.
yeah,
Whether you agree or disagree with the vote of no confidence, the impact is the same.
Yeah.
there's no momentum in helping the people. And that's what
Yeah.
the government should be doing, is like you're saying, building infrastructure, making decisions that give more economic opportunity, more stability, and improve the quality of life of the citizens. And so it happens in Tonga quite a bit as well. And on the next topic, our brothers and sisters in the Cook Islands have also had some interesting things in the news.
This is funny. This cracks me
Yeah.
out.
Let's see if we can play this video. If not, we'll kind of skim through the article.
Okay.
Jergens Natural Glow Sun
Oh,
Drops.
damn.
Just drop, mix with my lotion, and glow.
Yeah. No,
Very
Tua, because this has been
Exclusive
playing in
details
the back.
of a deal
Oh,
that could
there we go.
What was that?
No,
Masi?
this has been playing this whole week. They've been talking about that. This has been in the news and stuff, and it just cracks me up because I'll share my thoughts after this video, but
Okay.
it's so funny
Okay.
what the cookies are doing.
shatter New Zealand's close relationship with a Pacific neighbour. The Cook Islands is set to strike a major partnership agreement with China, causing deep concern. The move would be a big win for Beijing, which is trying to exert its influence and power across the Pacific. It's also taken our government by surprise, a potential breach of constitutional arrangements between the Cooks and Aotearoa. This year, the Cook Islands celebrates 60 years of self-governance and free association with New Zealand. That means it's free to make its own moves on policies and partnerships at home and abroad, while enjoying the benefits of a New Zealand passport, citizenship, along with substantial investment and
I
aid.
didn't know that.
But that comes with
I didn't know that they get automatic New Zealand benefits like that. I thought they were their own, but they get, so they're like almost still in a sense, they're
Like
kind
American
of like
Samoa
Puerto Rico and
American Samoa.
American Samoa. Okay.
Except American Samoans can't vote. Can Puerto Ricans vote? Do I? No.
Yes. Well,
Okay,
I thought
they
they did. I thought they did. I thought American Samoa also does for the primaries and stuff. No?
I don't think so. As a
don't know.
national, they call it. They're just considered national citizens. They can't vote, from my understanding.
Interesting. Okay. Learning something new every day.
with caveats. Under a long-standing agreement, the nations must cooperate and consult on any issues of defence and security and advise each other of any risks to either state. But the Cook's lack of openness about its shift towards China is setting alarm bells ringing. Here's Pacific correspondent Barbara Drever, exclusive report.
The Cook Islands is about to sign a big deal with a new friend.
We must look at other ways to ensure that we have a sustainable economy, and partnering with like-minded countries in this regard is going to be important for us.
Do you
to
think
maintain
China's a
our
like-minded
prosperity
country?
levels. In terms of economic growth and the prosperity of our peoples, we share those common interests.
China's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Ma seen here in December the Cook Islands thanking China for the multi-million-dollar water project, despite leaks which led to 17 kilometres being dug up and replaced. China stuffed up your water project. I remember clearly you saying that you were seeking compensation from them. Why celebrate that?
This, let's be clear, the disagreement we had, the arbitration we had was with a contractor, not with the Chinese government. This was a contractual matter that was resolved and has resulted in us now having a very, very good water project, far better than what we had before.
It was resolved by New Zealand.
Yes, with the help of our third partner in the trilateral arrangement.
The Cook Islands' third partner is feeling like a third wheel, that agreements in our long realm relationship are being ignored.
What clarity? And at this point in time, we have none.
Was
No
your guy?
clarity at all. That's what
That's
this
my
means.
guy, New
The
Zealand
Cook
first.
Islands is entitled to make those decisions themselves. But we've got past arrangements, constitutional arrangements, which require consultation with us. And dare I say it, China knows that. So if there's to be a change, then let us put our cards on the table so we all know what we've required to do and we all know what we're dealing with.
Just last week, Chinese ambassador to the Cook Islands arrived to finalise a partnership agreement that Prime Minister Mark Brown is expected to sign in Beijing. He leaves with a delegation on Friday. The agreement includes fisheries, maritime cooperation, which involves boosting the Cook Islands inter-island ferry service, and deep-sea mining.
I think once our agreement is signed, it's going to be available for everybody to see. I know that New Zealand and Australian concerns centre around security matters, and I guess they bring up the issue of the Solomon Islands signing an agreement that allows policing. Our agreement doesn't have any of those aspects in it.
New Zealand believes the Cook Islands is not acting in accordance with its constitutional partnership arrangement, where consultation in times like this is mandatory.
No, absolutely not. No. I believe our officials have been in discussions with New Zealand officials.
Plans for a Cook Islands passport is also still on the table, despite New Zealand saying it would need to become fully
Might as well be
independent for
independent,
this to
fully
happen.
fledged
We were
independent.
caught
Might
by
as well.
surprise when this news was broken by One News about our high-level discussion, which I thought was a high-level diplomatic discussion with leaders.
Very
To be
interesting.
open, frank in our discussions. For it to be brought out into the public before we've had a time to inform our public, I thought was a breach of our political diplomacy.
The standoff continues, threatening the future of one of our longest and closest relationships.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. What are your thoughts, Mr. Aotearoa?
Ooh, so for me, Tua, how would it feel like if the governor of American Samoa goes and does his own negotiation with China? How would that go? Like, to me, that's how it seems like to me.
Yeah, to me,
Right?
it's saying you're up to something
Yeah.
and you're trying to hide something from me.
Yes. And so, but here's my thing, Tua. Just knowing, I've been in New Zealand for 7 years now. New Zealand leadership is very soft, right? And I just feel like this guy is like, New Zealand, they're softies. I can do whatever I want. They're gonna come and
Yeah,
they'll run their mouth and say this, that, but I'm gonna do what I want. But at the same time, I'll still enjoy their benefits of still having access to their, tourism really helps Cook Islands. They have the New Zealand citizenship, so they get access of benefits and stuff. So
yeah.
to me, just knowing how New Zealand do things, with the whole Pacific warm greetings kind of attitude, right? And I'm a guy that says, you know
Don't
what?
want to
I'm
offend
gonna
anyone.
yes, I wanna
Yeah,
I'll jump on this, but at the same time, at the same time, he's just saying, China's gonna throw in a lot of money. We do this partnership, it's gonna facilitate our economic growth. He's having them to do kind of get access to their fisheries and also some sea mining that's gonna grow their economy and probably provide more money that's going to help with infrastructure to build like I said, he's the one in charge, and he's going to try to build what's good for the cookies, but at the same time he understands New Zealand's leadership. It's very soft. Even when you get caught up in doing a mistake, the consequences is very soft. That even the
yeah.
crimes, if you do crimes here in New Zealand, crimes are very soft on
Slap on the
criminals.
wrist. That's
Slap
it.
on the wrist. So, hey, to me, the cookie is just doing what he wants to do. At the same
Yeah,
time, if at the same time he just understands how New Zealand do things, it's a very soft approach. So he's just doing what's best for what he thinks is for the people. And he looks like, and the thing is, it seems like he's not afraid if they have to go independent. Because if he's thinking he's
that's
doing
what I was going to
passports,
say. Yeah,
if he's going thinking of passports and it gets pretty aggressive, and if China really puts up to me, one, it shows me the money maybe New Zealand has put into Cook Islands is maybe being pennies compared to what China is willing to
oh,
even double
can't
or
can't
triple.
compete with China on that.
Yes. So, and if it needs to go independent, and that's a good right. And that's the thing about, I admire the Cook Islands prime minister. He's not afraid if he's gonna step up, because, like I said, anyone can step up to New Zealand. That's my opinion, right?
No,
So
I
I don't
agree.
know.
I
That's just
agree.
me and my thoughts. I don't. What's you, Tua? You're kind of from
No,
afar.
100%.
And what you hear
Yeah, for
regarding the
me,
Cook
my
Islands.
perspective, it looks like the Cook Islands wants to break away from
Mm,
this relationship,
mm,
right? And you know, it sounds like this is the classic teenager who
mm,
wants to have their own rules and do whatever they want, but guess what? You're still living in mom and dad's house.
mm,
So a decision needs to be made. Like you were saying, mom and dad need to lay the law. It looks like,
mm,
you try to give your children some freedom, help them make decisions on their own. But, you don't have necessarily a solid line, but you also know there's an unwritten line, right? An
mm,
unspoken of line that's like, if you go and talk to certain people about, hey, I want to go live in your apartment. I want to, when they start talking like that, then the parent needs to say, oh, okay, so what are you still doing in my house? Maybe, right?
Mm,
Or
mm,
maybe I shouldn't be supporting you with this other stuff if you're saying that's not enough for you and you have someone else. Um, so I don't know. To me, and it sounds to me like the Cook Islands are not afraid,
yeah,
right? They're
they're
not
not.
afraid. Right now, they're not afraid. Whether it's rightfully so or not, they don't fear New Zealand. They don't act like they need New Zealand, and they're making moves as if they're planning to move out. Like you
Mm,
say, they're talking about our own passport. They're talking about deep sea mining, building their infrastructure. You do that
yeah,
kind of stuff away from quote unquote Big Brother because you're planning to get away from Big Brother. So for
yeah,
me, New Zealand, this is not a time for diplomatic being nice. This is a time you gotta maybe adopt a
yeah,
little Uncle Donald's approach of like, oh,
yeah,
okay, if you wanna be a big boy, big girl, well, you better act like one, and then start saying maybe it's time for you to move on. And but then you have to take into well, this is where I think it's funny because military wise, what is New Zealand gonna do?
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? And then Cook Islands, like they're the security wise, are they gonna? They don't feel like New Zealand has the capacity militarily to
To
even
do
maybe
anything?
defend
Yeah,
defend them where they're at on the islands because New Zealand's military has been very, very small and
weak sauce.
limited, very weak sauce. Shoot, their boat got sunk by a coral reef. It wasn't in battle, right? So, like
Muffy,
Cook Island,
why you gotta do the New Zealand military like that for? He's sunk by
because
a coral reef.
to be honest, I think the Tongan military could take over New Zealand's military tour. That's what, right? That's how weak the New Zealand military is at the moment. So Cook Island's just thinking, dude, if we can just have a positive and good relationship and a working relationship with China, they're lot more reliable military wise, and not only that, their amount of funding to fund our infrastructure. Because to me, it just says New Zealand's New Zealand has not invested much money and security to make Cook Islands feel like they value their partnership. That's the
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
And then New Zealand's soft leadership approach and very weak diplomacy, and this is not only for this government. This is many years. Cook Islands are just thinking, you know what? We'll just go and we're gonna do this and see how
We
long
can
we
get
can
away
go
with it.
get away. Yeah. So
So what you're saying,
man,
Mussy, is the Cook Islands sees New Zealand as a beta, and they're like, "Hey, beta male, we're gonna push
yeah,
the line, and you know what? I'm gonna bring an alpha male to the table and see
yeah,
how's the beta male gonna act. Is the
yeah,
beta male gonna try and act and step up like an alpha, or are they gonna be the
yeah.
standard beta male? And we'll see what happens.
Yes,
You
we'll see
know,
what happens. We'll see what
because
happens. But
because for New Zealand to really, it's not gonna be New Zealand's not gonna have a bigger checkbook. New
mm,
Zealand's not gonna have the military. New Zealand's not gonna have the international political influence. Really, what New Zealand's gonna have to bank on is the relationship and the history between the two countries.
and cultural
And he
ties
says
are yes, yeah,
cultural ties. Are you gonna be loyal to me? Are you gonna just leave me? Are you gonna be a gold digger? Huh? Cook
yeah,
Islands, are you gonna be loyal to me? But then Cook Islands is like, should I be loyal to you?
mm,
You don't seem to care much about me and blah blah
mm,
blah. Like you're saying, you've kind of left me alone and don't give me
mm,
attention. I don't know.
yeah.
Interesting. So
Very interesting.
New Zealand is gonna be at a, I this is bad, but I always when we grew up in Tonga, I would always get so frustrated with New Zealand. And it's all New Zealand Rugby Union, right?
Yeah,
My frustrations with New Zealand in general is how New Zealand Rugby Union treated the Pacific Island teams, right? The smaller ones and the players, and how they always made the rules work against Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, right? All the rules were always because New Zealand was so influential in New Zealand in the world rugby,
pretty
right?
much. Yeah.
And the rules. And so for me, I always get a little giggle when New Zealand gets a taste of their own medicine, right?
Mm,
Now that Richie Mo'unga says, no, I'm going to stay in Japan, not come back to New Zealand, it makes me smile, right? When Charles Piutau decided to leave in his prime, right? To leave and go to England made me
Yeah.
smile because deep down inside, I'm like, Chai Obito. Now
Mm.
you get to feel a little bit how Tonga, Fiji, and Ha'amoa felt for decades. But I'm still a big fan of the Warriors. My exception is the Warriors. I love the Warriors. I think they have an awesome brand. They have an awesome team and history and culture there. But anyways,
No,
next.
no,
Oh, go
I'll
ahead,
just
Messi.
add on to that. When we're talking about New Zealand rugby, I don't know if you heard, but they're actually going to trial with their main sponsorship on their
Yes,
on their shirt. So, things are not going so well financially for the New
Rugby
Zealand All Blacks
Union.
and that
Yeah.
rugby union, and it's just I feel like it's folding in, man. But
Yeah, I mean, and this
sure.
is the I know we've mentioned this before in other podcasts, but this is why I laugh when I hear people from New Zealand and World Rugby. It's like, oh, we're gonna go take over American sports with rugby union. I'm like, hey, you can't even make it successful in a country that loves rugby,
Mm,
right? You can't even make it successful there, and you think you're gonna come and compete with the NFL and come and compete with all
the
these
NBA,
other sports, the NBA, Major
MLB.
League Baseball. Um, I don't know. Very, very interesting to me. Um, but yeah, it always makes, unfortunately, right? Because you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't find quote unquote joy with other people's struggles. But I just can't help it, right? I'm just like, "Say, Albito, how does it feel? Huh? How does it feel, Teoro?" But
I
anyways,
tend to I
go
tend
ahead.
I tend to cheer for the All Blacks all the time when they play against Australia, South Africa, because they tend to have more of the Polynesians in it. And to me, this is what I think. The other countries are all doing it the same thing. So I feel like now that I've kind of been in New Zealand, see how the other countries do it. Australia does it, South Africa does it, England does it, and New Zealand. I feel like they could. The thing is, they're not gonna step in the risk it to do something different. So they just fall in line with the other rugby union.
Maybe,
That's just my
maybe,
opinion.
yeah.
And they
I don't
just play.
see
It's a big. This is what I see at Tua. It's a big, good club with the union guys, and they're all just
good old
good old
boys
boys
club.
clubs, just tapping shoulders and elbows
Okay,
with each other. That's how I
maybe
see it.
maybe I'm putting a little too much responsibility on New Zealand Rugby Union. Maybe, like I said, a lot of these ideas in my head were kind of cultivated from growing up in Tonga. I haven't really thought about it anymore. I just remember the feeling of like,
It's
I don't
because
like this.
yes, I think it's because New Zealand had the first pickings in the islands, but now it's starting to be everyone's on the same playing field and having that first pickings, and then New Zealand is not being as dominant as they used to be.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%. All right. So I know one of the viewers had mentioned if we're going to get into one of the hottest topics right now in in our communities, and that is the Miss South Pacific. Masi, you want to give us a rundown of what you understand? Are you familiar with this story, Masi?
Yes, yes. Even
Kind
my
of give the
colleague.
context. Give the
Yeah.
context of what you're hearing in Aotearoa. You're a lot closer to it than me here in the States. I just purely social media. But what are you hearing on the ground over there?
So the top two contestants, Miss Samoa and Miss Tonga, and those were the top two, and they came to the final um, process to declare a winner. And apparently, it was like really unorganized, and it took a while for the judges to decide who was going to be crowned. And then there were circulation going around on social media that saw one of the judges ripped out something and then gave the another paper that had the winner that was Miss Samoa. And then there were some judges, I guess she was Tongan, went up and said that Miss Tonga
Yeah,
should have
Maata
won.
Mo'ungaloa, she was a Miss
Yes,
Heilara.
she was a Miss Hela, that Miss Tonga was supposed to win, and then she was kind of ranting on that, and then like the head judge, who is a Samoan, on his way out to the airport, got stopped by the Solomon Authority, got questioned about the pageant and how it was run, if it was, if it
Yeah,
was
wouldn't let him leave the
cheating,
country.
we let him leave and then the country because they wanted to investigate if the pageant was done properly and stuff, but he ended up leaving after that. So this is all it happens. And apparently Miss Tonga announced that even if there were stuff that happened that she was not supposed to,
She wouldn't accept the crown
she
anyway,
wouldn't accept
even
the
if they
crown.
tried to reverse it.
Reversed it. I was like, okay, all right.
That's
Well,
good for her.
yeah. To me, yeah, it's just it's a highly contested, I guess, event because it's kind of, you represent the entire Pacific. So yeah, that's just kind of my thing there, and I really don't know if I have no idea if the if the contest was run with integrity or if there were some certain dealings that happened. I have no idea. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
about you, Tua, but what are
No,
your thoughts?
I don't have any idea. To me, this is something. I guess it's very typical of our people, right? This is something that we would have in Tonga when there's a competition in Tonga after the winner's name. Everybody says, "Oh, there was cheating," but yeah, like I was like, it's kind of funny to me because I was like, as much as things quote unquote change, they're still
Mm.
the same, right? Like this is like little squabbles you would think of, like, oh, remember when we were back in Tonga, we would always be arguing about, this guy used his cousin's birth certificate. He's actually 25, but he used
Ye-
his cousins to say he's 19,
That's
and
the one I
he
was
played.
thinking. A lot of
Yeah,
the ones I've heard is the ones that under 18, and then you find out people are like 21, 22. They want to play because certain people come from Australia and New Zealand to recruit
that's
for their
scouting.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the other one is, the referee was a graduate of that high school and
Yeah.
just made terrible calls. You would think like money. I think this is an international competition. We would think
Yeah.
like maybe we would have done something at least like electronic or something that was transparent. So, but I think it's funny that they're like all pieces of paper. They're handing it to each other. They're telling it. And I was like, "Oy, pare, Dama, I mean, this is
Mm,
interesting, or at least
mm.
make it in a way where it's like this doesn't happen, right?"
Yeah.
But let's react to. Do you remember Kalafi Moala, Masi?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is Tavuli News? I don't know if this is from the Solomon Islands or Fiji or something or Papua, but they had a quick thing and they interview Kalafi Moala and they just kind of talk about the drama that's going on.
Okay.
Now, a senior Tongan journalist has voiced concerns over allegations circulating on social media following the Miss Pacific pageant in Honiara on Saturday night. Kalafi Moala, publisher of Talanoa o Tonga, says the claims have left many Tongans seeking answers from the pageant committee.
The issue here in Tonga is not so much who won. The fact that Miss Samoa was crowned Miss Pacific Islands, that's not an issue. I think many Tongans respond well to that. But when the allegation starts rising, that's where people are really reacting.
Miss Tonga was named first runner-up to Miss Samoa in the competition. However, shortly after the results were announced, social media erupted with allegations of foul play, sparking controversy amongst pageant followers. Speaking via Zoom in an interview with Tavuli News, Moala says these claims are concerning.
Whether it's just rumors, whether there was actual cheating that took place, I think it is in the responsibility of the organizers and indeed the judging panel to make a public statement. And there hasn't been an official statement. And I think that's very, very poor management and unacceptable. I think most people in Tonga are waiting for a statement to come from the organizers or at least from the judges.
Moala says he sympathizes with the 8 contestants who took part, as the controversy now risks overshadowing their efforts. He is urging the pageant organizers to address the issue transparently, warning that failure to do so could damage the integrity of the competition in the future.
It is sad because the pageant, the Miss Pacific Islands pageant, is such a tremendous event that could really help and build up in terms of the status and the kind of things for Pacific women. and especially young girls that are emerging into adulthood. It's very sad that this has happened, and of course there are questions that come up of why islands not participating. If these things are not corrected or clarified, Tonga may not participate in the next pageant.
Despite the concerns, Moala congratulated Honiara for hosting a successful event that drew significant interest from Tonga.
It was wonderful. Solomons did a very bold thing in hosting the pageant, and keeps the Solomon Islands in the news in terms of being a very key Pacific Island nation in determining our unity, our oneness, and development and moving forward in the Pacific Islands.
Kalafi Moala, a respected journalist from Tonga, speaking to Tavuli News via Zoom from Nuku'alofa.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Masi? What are your thoughts on that?
I did look on the how was the Miss Pacific, because there was really no Miss. Was there a Miss Pacific when you were growing up, Tua? This is relatively new.
It was called Miss South Pacific or something. Like I think Maata Moungaloa, the one judge that kind of made the thing. I think she won it, and I think Tessie Toluka won it, but it was a different name. I don't think it was MPI. I think it's changed its name maybe once or twice. But I mean, I wouldn't say I'm heavily involved in it, but I'm somewhat familiar with it.
Because I did read some stuff that the Miss Pacific was actually funded and developed by the Samoan government. So I don't know if there was some, certain slight to that maybe the judge. To me, the best way moving forward probably is to probably have people that maybe have some maybe different judges that maybe who are non from the islands, or I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Probably that would be fair, right? It's really to me it would be fair to have somebody that really doesn't have a bone in the game in judging the contestants, especially having maybe like somebody, because I didn't see a Miss Fiji, so maybe have a Fijian, someone from Fiji there, Tuvalu, just somewhere in the Pacific that didn't make the cut to the Miss South
No
Pacific.
skin in the game.
No skin in the game. Let them become the judges, and I think it will go smoothly there. It's difficult when you have a Samoan judge, a Samoa judge, have a Tonga judge, and then you have another judge. Like it can be kind of messy and stuff, even though you might not be non-biased or whatever. But it just removes that away. Especially that's another critical thing that I've heard in this segment, Tua. There's been no announcement to kind of.
That to me is the biggest mistake. Yes.
Yes. Just to say if there was, and to me, when they don't announce and sort it out, even though maybe they did things right, but maybe there were certain things that happened
we can do
that
better
they
next
can't
time
explain.
around.
But yeah, that's just my thoughts on there, Tua. But
no, I agree with Kalafi Moala. I think the big thing here, because the fact that the pageant organizers didn't say something, it feeds into the accusations, right? If they came out and said, hey, look, no, here's the process, we confirmed it, or they said, oh yeah, no, this is the right winner, we now see that there's ways we can improve, so there's no miscommunication in the future, but they just let it fester and it just got worse and worse and worse. And honestly, it's not that big of a deal, right? For us, for everyone, it doesn't matter. I saw a lot of people like, oh, Miss Samoa, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Miss Tonga, blah, blah, blah. Dude, for all of us, it really doesn't impact our lives, right? If it was Samoa who won or Solomon Islands, it really doesn't matter. You know who really suffers? Is the girls who competed. That's what suffers the most, because now Miss Pacific Islands, she's going to have that hanging over her head now, right? For her whole time.
It'll be very difficult when she does, because she represents the Pacific. When she goes to Tonga, what's the reaction and kind of thing she probably will get when she gets to Tonga? It's probably not going to be positive, because this wasn't been sorted out. So it's going to be hard for her job as the face of the Miss South Pacific, because her job at the end is to unite all of Polynesia, the
region.
Pacific.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah. And so that's why I think it's funny hearing everybody on social media how this is so bad for them. It's like, dude, it's not going to impact my life, not going to impact your life, but it will have an impact on the girls' lives. And, I'm a father of daughters. If one of my kids ever want to get involved in something like that, but there's no reliable competition, well, that's like Kalafimola said, that's less opportunity for
the women.
Pauline. So
Yeah.
it really is just kind of unfortunate. We, hopefully they come out. I don't care if it's already way too late. They need to come out with a statement. They just need to explain what happened and then say, hey, in the future, this is what we're going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again. Because, Miss Tonga, credit to her, I think that was a fantastic response, right? Where she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Even if they were to try and reverse it, I wouldn't accept it. To me, that's her way of saying, let's just move forward, right?
Yeah.
Going back won't help anyone. It's done. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking too that there, I think that person, that the Samoan judge that was held up in the airport, he's kind of said that there were no like cheating and something that was going on. He kind of addressed that, but there has been nothing by the South Pacific Committee as a whole to come up and say and address it. It's only been he or her said from each individual judge speaking independently with the news.
Well, and that's the challenge is, according to the accusation, which pretty much comes from Mata Mo'ongaloa, and not directly from her mouth, but supposedly people who spoke with her, right, is that the other judges voted for Tonga, and that Tonga won 3-2. And so that's why it's important for the organization to come out, right? And even if they just came out and said that is incorrect, the vote was 3-2. That's, you know what I mean? Just to say that's the final decision. We're moving forward. We're going to look into this further. But the fact they haven't said anything, it kind of makes people think, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true, the accusations that's going on.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Anything else you want to add to that, Mas?
Nope. I think we've kind of settled that. I do think they should get. Here's the 4 judges I'm thinking. Tua, I didn't see a Miss Fiji. Have a Fijian there. I didn't see a Miss Maori. Have a Maori over there. Have a Hawaiian there. There's so many people in the Pacific, and maybe like a New Caledonian or a Vanuatu that will settle all these things with these whole bias of like trying to.
He said, she said. Yeah.
Yes. Get the ones who have no bone in the game. Let them be the judges for the next one, so we can still hold up the integrity of the competition.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. It doesn't seem like there's much of an investigation going on. And even then, what kind of investigation? What do we have? Like a
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to throw that much
pageant conspiracy theory investigator. I mean, they stopped the guy from leaving the airport, right? That's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they asked him a few questions before they said, okay, you can get on your, and that was the end of the investigation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to pour that much resources toward the pageantry investigation.
maybe China's going to fund that investigation, and then New Zealand's going to come in. They're going to rescue the warship that sunk in the coral reef.
Well,
to come to the Solomon Islands and enforce New Zealand superiority. Oh man, that's hilarious. All right. With that being said, we got one more. Let's see. Where are we?
What do we have next?
What we have is some U.S. politics, real quick, and a historical moment for Polynesians in general.
Top dog, pretty much. Top Polynesian dog.
Well, and before we move on, congratulations to Miss Samoa, who is now
congratulations.
Miss Pacific Islands. At the end of the day, we're excited. hopefully they're able to fix this issue, because come on, guys, man, we got to get out of the village squabbles, right?
Yeah,
Where one
I see.
village blames the other village. We got to get out of that and move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thing too. When you always talk about like the under 18 and stuff, the issues, and then like it's just like it just happens when you're in when you've been in the island for a long time. These are little things. Then it's mind blowing once you get to bigger countries, and the bigger country you get to, the more things like you say, oh man, the dynamics are just so much bigger than you know what I mean, to it, just how the world just follows like, hey, that's not a big deal. You save your energy on things that really matter
Yeah.
to you. So yeah, it's just funny.
Yep. All right, let's watch this video and react to the
Ooh.
positive situation here.
Yeas are 52, nays are 48. Nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered, made, and laid upon the table, and the President will immediately notify of the Senate's actions.
Mr. President, I
Order Leader.
move to waive the mandatory quorum with respect to the Kennedy nomination.
Is there objection? Without objection. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
That's going into
of
Robert F. Kennedy. But the
Okay.
point is, Tulsi Gabbard is elected or confirmed.
Yes. She was appointed and then
basically-
confirmed. Yeah.
Yes. She is, for all intents and purposes, is the most powerful Polynesian woman on the planet. More powerful
Polynesian person than probably
person on
Yeah.
the planet. Most powerful Polynesian on the planet. More powerful than the whole state of New Zealand trying to put pressure on the Cook Islands for their Tulsi Gabbard going to the Cook Islands will have way more influence than Aotearoa going over there. But I mean, this is really cool, really powerful. You know, obviously she's of Samoan descent. This is kind of a side note, but there was a relative of hers that was killed in Ha'amoa.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like there was some kind of shoot. The only reason I know it's a relative of hers because when I saw a video, I guess two ladies were arguing. It was two ladies. One of it was Tulsi's grandmother or aunt or something like that. And one lady stabbed the other lady, believe it or not.
Dang, that's crazy.
And killed them. That is crazy. And the lady was like a professor at the Ha'amoa University or whatever. But anyways, really, really big deal. I mean, Tulsi going in there, never would have thought this would happen, right? Just because Tulsi was on the Democratic side. I mean, for
now
Pete's
she's
sake,
Republican.
Now she's Republican. But this is really cool for the Polynesian people. This breaks us into another realm that Polynesians are getting into. Really cool, really exciting. And I think just once again, I think our people in general are having a huge impact in the world for such a small,
not 1% of
group
the
of
U.S.
people.
Population.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
So it's kind of really cool to see that Tulsi Gabbard's in there and that she's going to have that impact. That really opens up minds for people. And I don't want to sound too woke here, right? To say, we have to see someone. No, it's not that we have to see someone that looks like us, but seeing someone that looks like us or is us, more important, not just look like us, but is us in that position, it just changes the psyche, right? It's not saying you can't do it, but it's like when someone broke the 4-minute mile for the first time, it was for forever. It was like impossible. But then once the first person did it, within like a year and a half, tons of people were breaking the 4-minute mile. Because why? Because now people see it. They're like, oh, it is possible. It can be done. And that's what I think for us makes a big difference. Oh yeah, well, it looks like Slick Rick says, oh yeah, well, Tulsi. It seems like Tulsi's pretty popular. Not only with Slick Rick, but apparently Water Bears says Tulsi is my new Woman Crush Wednesday. Woman Crush Wednesday. That's why the girlfriend won't let you go anywhere, Water Bears. That kind of response. You're not gonna get your visa to come out to the Kava session next time with those kind of comments. Malo, Water Bears.
Malo, Water Bears. No, Tua, it's pretty amazing that she is the CIA director. We're talking about she is the top person in the Department of
Intelligence, yeah.
Intelligence. We're talking
National
about
intelligence.
very sophisticated and very skilled people in undercover espionage. This is
It's a big
one of
deal.
the most. This is stuff that changes the world on preventing wars, information to prevent terrorism attacks. This is very powerful, and it's pretty crazy that Trump appointed Tulsi for this position and for her to be confirmed. It's pretty remarkable, and like I said, it's just this is this is what we like. To me, this is how the world should be. Not this whole DEI stuff, but because you're brown or black or whatever or social economic whatever. To me, Tulsi got there on her merit. She's been in the political game for a while. She's been an advocate for
Military.
transparency, transparent in advocating for transparency in intelligence and how the FBI and just the whole kind of law enforcement community should function, be more transparent. So to me, she got there by merit, and that's how us as Polynesian people we should be. And let's not be trapped in this thing that we should be in places because uh, we're a minority, just for the sake of minority. Everything should be on merit, and when you do things on merit, and you will get there on your merit, and it's a much more filling accomplishment when you get there on your own merit, not because of your skin of your color or the social economic background you came from. You know what I mean?
No,
So
100%. And the danger of thinking, like you're saying, of, oh, we have to see someone or put someone in there because of the way they look. It's the same problem that the Miss South Pacific is going to face now, right? Because the process didn't, or the process was not clear that the one with the most merit got it. Even when you get it, it doesn't feel the same. You're never going to be given the credit fully, right? That, oh, you got there because of the merit, because, oh, you just got there because you had another judge cheat for you. That's the same thing with this DEI. Oh, you just got there because you were brown or because you were this, that. That devalues that. I mean, that's one of the things that, what's the Supreme Court guy? The black guy in the Supreme Court here.
Clarence Thomas.
That's one of the things that really frustrated Clarence Thomas because he excelled academically. Well, he went to Harvard or one of the Ivy Leagues, did really well, but he was always labeled because of affirmative action and some of those things. A lot of people kind of wrote him off as, oh, you just were let there just because you were black. Right. So it devalued all his hard work, all his talent to just say, oh, you got in there just because of the color of your skin. So that's kind of like what we're talking about, right? You don't want to get into that. And to me, the primary way to show that that is the correct way to think, and that's a way everyone thinks is just and fair, is sports. Sports is the number one indicator of merit because you either win or you lose at the beginning to the end of the game, right? And in sports, 99% of the time, that's why sports is one of the first areas to integrate, right? Diversity, because a lot of times sports, we don't care.
Correct.
Your background, there's only one thing we care about: win. Right. And when you win, it's off of merit, it's off of hard work, it's about sacrifice. and your teammates been willing to work together, we all agree that that's how it should happen in sports. But somehow, once we get out of sports, maybe because politics and a lot of other things get involved more, that all of a sudden we all agree sports should be on merit. But then when we get out of sports, we get some funky ideas on how people should be rewarded. But like you said, fantastic congratulations to Tulsi Gabbard. She not only has all the qualifications, she's proven herself to be tough. She's proven herself to be an independent thinker. She's proven herself to be willing to sacrifice, being powerful, being influential to do what's right. Because honestly, she was like the rising star in the Democratic Party.
Correct.
But she was like, well, I don't agree with certain things. And people started telling her, hey, you got to forget about what you disagree with. And you're the rising star.
If you want to
stay the rising star, you better get in line. And she said, no, I think I want to do what's right first. And I don't agree with a lot of her politics, but in regards to the role that she's in now, like she's somewhat open to universal income and some of these other things. I don't agree with her that, but on this specific area that she's overseeing, I agree with her. You don't just finance the industrial war complex, right? And then you don't just mingle and cause problem everywhere. War is the absolute and last option,
last resort.
And you don't spy and work on the American people, blah, blah, blah. Like all of the things that's why I'm really cool and excited to see what she does, because everything in the intelligence area, there's very little that I disagree with her or think that she couldn't manage. So I'm excited to see how she progresses in that new role.
I agree. And maybe if New Zealand, like if let's just say the Cook Islands keep going with this, New Zealand can reach out to Tulsi Gabbard maybe to assist them to maybe reel in Cook Islands with their
what is it? Is he a prime minister? Or what is he?
Prime Minister of the
Brown?
Cook Islands.
What is he?
Brown.
Brown?
Mark Brown.
It's like, hey, I got a big ship too. I got a big checkbook just like China. Come on, get your act together.
Yeah. So that would help. That would help. Or maybe New Zealand can make a request to send some undercover agents to Cook Islands.
So what we need to do is ship over some Chinese Americans to pretend to be part of the Chinese government to strike some deals and see what the Cook Islands are really up to. Maybe they'll find that the Cook Island passport is going to have the hammer and the sickle from the Communist Party.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, okay. Malo. With that being said, we're going to end the first part or the last part of the program with a video. One of our cousins actually she works for One News. Is that what they are?
Yes, One News.
One News, and she did an investigation to, what are they called?
It's like a Korean Christian
Shinjeon
or
something like that.
It's like a Korean
Christian
Pentecostal church.
Yeah, so we're gonna react to the first part. Looking at the time, we'll just do the first part, and then maybe there's two parts to this investigative effort that she did. But we'll kind of watch the first part and react to it, and then go from there.
Let's go. Oh, I know where that church is at. Onehunga.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they own that church, or is that just a famous church in New Zealand?
That's just a Catholic church that's in Onehunga. I only know it because that's where my in-laws live.
Okay.
Near there.
Our identity as Pacific Islanders. We are part of a village. And to lose someone from our village, it's a really big thing. Cult's a really dangerous word.
there is this particular cult that has become popular amongst our Pacific people, and it's out there in the community.
It was a goal of theirs to reach out to the Pacifica population because they will be more responsive to this teaching.
Being at Shinjinji is the best decision I've ever made.
Question, Tua.
Route to God.
Yes.
Why are they calling it a cult automatically in this first part? Do you know why? I don't know. I feel like it's a bit too premature to kind of say it's a cult when I don't know. Isn't why we're in the freedom of worship that people can.
No, that's why I want to walk. Oh, that's why I want to talk through this, right? Because
like we haven't gone to the meat of the thing, and I'm already hearing cult already. It's pretty crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, let's get the definition of cult. Let's have a little bit of a technical.
Okay.
Of a cult and what that means, because let's share.
That's what they call all of Trump voters. They were all a cult.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is now is a cult. Where the way it's used now is whenever you don't like something, right? Whenever you don't like some, so a system of religious veneration or devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. Well, that's a lot of things. Would you say someone who really loves the All Blacks, are they part of a cult? People who love the NFL or their team, right? Another one is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. So another way of cult is they just do things differently than you, right? A misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. Well, isn't that consumerism? It's a cult. So that's kind of like, one of the reasons why I wanted for us to kind of walk through this.
Taylor Swift fans, they're a cult.
Exactly. Exactly. So being a cult, and that's the thing, being a cult is what? You're too passionate about something, right? And to me, once you're an adult, you can make poor decisions, right? Yeah. You can say being a drug addict is a cult. You can say being an alcoholic is a cult. You can say your political beliefs is a cult under these definitions, but they make it sound super negative that it's something evil or morally wrong just because you disagree with it or just because it's not the popular position. Because another way of saying cult under these definitions is that's just not the majority. If a minority group of people really believe something, it's a cult. Just like a lot of people say the Latter-day Saint Church is a cult, right? But it's to me wishy-washy on making it a cult and negative. But I mean, there's a fair reason why for their concerns. But
because I've never seen it, and I just like, man, we were just in the introducing who's gonna be in this, and like, not even long, I already heard the word cult. I was like, dang, that's quick to deem them a cult already.
Well, and here's the thing, right? They're interviewing other pastors. That's like you're going and talking about the Communist Party, and you go to America and talk about the communists. Of course, America is going to talk negative about the communists. You go to China, it's the same thing because in a way, everybody's biased, but it's one religious leader talking smack about another religious leader because this religious leader doesn't want to lose people to that religious leader because many of them, not all of them, but a lot of pastors get paid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think it's funny. They're going to criticize this guy or this religion. And I think, I guess I do agree. Some of it looks like it's run more like a business.
Yeah.
But so is Christianity. If you trust me, I'm in Texas. There are mega churches here in Texas where like an arena built just for church. I have a mega church 2 miles from my house. Yeah. They have a giant, merry-go-round inside the church. Yes. 2 stories. They have, you know, they look. I drove by during the Super Bowl. They had in their parking lot a huge screen. They were having like a party. Well, I'll tell you this. That's money coming from the people in that mega church. It's you. In theory, you can say that's a business. You know, so depends on how you look at it. To me, when you got religious freedom and people have choice, you just have to look at, is there illegal activity? Right? Are they doing anything illegal? That's the way to look at it, in my opinion, because that's why we believe in religious freedom, because everyone has such conviction for their religious beliefs. We would just call each other a cult all the time and persecute each other. But we stay away from that and we just say, are they breaking the law in any way? That's where you have the conversation. Because once you get into personal perspective and religious discussion, then you jump like this here. You jump straight into cult from the very beginning because everyone's biased.
Okay.
Now,
interesting.
Yeah.
He is the way to God?
Yes.
Do you believe it?
Yes. Yeah.
Why have you been comfortable to put other people forward for interviews and not yourself to front the church as a leader?
Wow, good question.
So they say infiltrating New Zealand. I think that kind of shows the thing. And then I do find it interesting that they're showing like this. I am sending you out as sheep among wolves. Therefore be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. I don't know. Feels like it's already kind of slanted one way. Right? When you say cult and then you show this.
Yes, and you know me, I'm just like, especially with New Zealand, they're the highest amount of.
Yeah, they're very
New Zealand is very
anti-religious.
The census came out. I think majority of the population in New Zealand, 25 million. I think 60% are already atheists. They identify as not even like Muslim, any kind of religion. It's all like they don't have any. So with New Zealand, when they do stuff, I always keep in my back of my mind, especially when they report on religious institutions and stuff. I always keep in my mind, like sometimes I just be a little bit more thoughtful when I watch stuff. So that's just me. That's just me.
100%.
My name is Panina. I'm 32 years of age. I am of Samoan descendant. When I first heard about Shinjonji, I thought it was a cult, but I had to check it out for myself.
There's a long glorious day, giving glory to heaven. We are one, the war of 100,000.
The woman on the left is Ursula Bluisht, known as Ula. She's a senior leader at Shinjonji.
There we go.
Nice. Okay. Beautiful.
Does that look straight to you? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just gonna do the
your
tiny
thing.
details, you know?
Yeah. Get it perfect, like you always do.
And here with Panina is Shinjonji's public relations person, Alistair Kata.
Yeah, I was never able to get a biblical answer within my old church. And it wasn't until I studied with Shinjonji and they were able to biblically answer all my questions. The answer that I found is that we were not created to die. But to be honest, it's hard to go into detail. Like you'd have to really come and learn and see for it for yourself.
Who's a part of the church now with you?
So it's my mom, my auntie, my uncle, my 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Their pastor's not gonna like that.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like when you have this is the thing, when you have the Samoan pastor, he's like, it's a cult, it's bad. They're stealing people from our community. I'm like, hey, look, I understand, like, yeah, you have some concerns, but I can't help but think, but yeah, of course you would say that. That would be like Pizza Hut saying, don't go to Domino's because their crust sucks, right? Don't go there. My crust is better. Or even say, don't even, they're not even saying, come to me. You're just saying, Domino's is bad. Don't go there. Okay, that's your opinion, right? But the problem is, she's a grown woman. She's an adult. Legally, she can make her own choices.
Yeah,
she's 32. And not only that, it's not just her, but apparently her whole family.
Yeah.
Right? We can disagree. Now, would I join this? No. I mean, to me, I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna run around in the park with balloons, right? But people, like, my kids love anime. They like all this other stuff, and I see a lot of people doing other weird things that I don't agree with. But hey, that's part of living in a free society.
Yes.
Right? That's just part of it. They're not physically hurting people. They're not, I mean, so far, and that's why to me, I lean more of this. To me is more of a legal question rather than a theological question.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? To me, that's where this kind of goes. But yeah, interesting. Any comments, or you want to come back into it?
What do you mean about legal question, Tua? Like, what do you mean? The legal side
Are
of
they
how...
breaking any laws? Right? Are they saying they're let's say like they have a non-taxed designation, but they're actually breaking the law? Like, if you're not going to be the same, you're taxed like a religious organization,
like a charity,
nonprofit,
yes,
then you shouldn't be doing certain things. There are certain rules. Then you just follow those rules. Are you quote unquote telling them that you're selling them a product, or they're saying you're investing in the church and then the church is going to grow your investment? Hey, then you're not a church. You're doing a financial transaction. Then that's places you can get them, right? It's like when they got Al Capone, right? They couldn't get him on illegal activity from selling and doing, but what did get him on? Not paying your taxes.
Not paying his taxes.
So to me, you go into a legal discussion. For me, it's illegal. Are they breaking any laws? Are they doing anything? Simply because you disagree with the theology and their practices. But if they're legal, and they're dealing with adults.
So there's a certain discussion that's going on, and this is I don't know what your thoughts are, but see, there's some rambling because I don't know if you know, but New Zealand, we're in a recession, right? The current government, they're trying to think on how to really kind of grow economic growth, and I just heard the Prime Minister, that Luxon, that they are thinking about maybe taxing churches. When you give your so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, the law can also go against you if they start treating all churches as non-charities. Then everyone's gonna get taxed, right? So I don't know. It's gonna be. That's the thing about, and to me, it was kind of crazy when I heard the Prime Minister say that. I was like, dang, that's pretty crazy. They're gonna see as churches as businesses. So I don't know.
Well, see, that's the thing. The problem with government is number one, it doesn't know how to make money, and number two, it doesn't make any money. Right? The government is a necessary evil, but the problem with it is it has the power to tax, and that's a problem sometimes, because why are you in a recession? Typically, it's because the policies of the government have choked the economy, and that's why you're in a recession. Maybe not always, but my perspective is like 80-90% of the time, recessions are many times driven by bad policy, right? And then what's their solution to get out of a recession? Tax more. So you're going to take more money out of the economy that's not going to be rebuilding a product or a service. You're going to take it and spend it on something in the government that's not designed to promote or to create value. And so to me, that's why taxing is not the problem. Granted, it's a fundamental difference. Some people take the position, but they're going to tax it and invest it. Government wasn't built for investing. Government is never going to be good at investment, right? So to me, big mistake to say the way we're going to get out of a recession is to tax more. That's how you get further into a recession, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's all. It'll be interesting if that's the case, but it's to me because one of the reporters asked that and he says, that's not out of the question for them to talk about it, taxing churches. As like, that means they don't see, and this is my thing. It's already a negative perception they have on churches. They don't think they do charity work. And to me, that's the issue. That's why I'm always careful when I watch government paid by New Zealand, because I just know their perception on just any religious institution is a very negative one.
No, that's a fair point.
And here's the funny thing: he's not a labor, and that's he's not a labor.
And imagine if it was labor, right? It'd be probably way worse.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. I just thought I'll just share that, just with the whole law and stuff. I was like, man, I just remember them discussing about this, so I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and I think it's very funny. Like you notice when they were kind of honing in on the fact that it had to be perfect, every little thing. And I agree, a part of it is kind of like that image. But have you hung out with people from Japan and from Korea? They are all about image. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be pristine, right? Like that's one of the things I admire about Japanese culture and Korean, but especially Japanese culture. There is like a hyper focus on perfection.
Yes.
Right? Like it's not just about doing it right, you got to do it perfect. And being very, very formal. Everything is about formal and following to a T, a protocol. So I see
in all facets of their life.
Exactly. And I see that part of that Korean culture that is obviously pushed onto all the followers, and they're kind of, and I think from perspective, I'm as a general person who observes, who doesn't follow that to a T, I can see how that can be, that's overdoing it. But I also understand that that's a part of the culture of where it originates from. So I'm like, okay, that's just the way they are and behave. But okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
There are ex-members who have left and now claim that it's a cult. What do you think about that?
Shinjinji, all the negative things that people say about Shinjinji is like not true at all. It's nothing like what I've heard it was.
Are you ever worried?
My only worry is that a lot of people that I love don't really see eye to eye with me and my family being here at Shinjinji. But it's not like a massive concern.
I was highly controlled every day of my life. I had to report on my daily schedule.
Laura is a former senior leader of Shincheonji. She joined in 2015.
Like I had to ask permission to see my family. Like that is a really controlling environment. And so that is why I would call them a cult.
I believe it is a cult. There's a lot of...
So
what do I feel? Why do I feel like it has I don't know. It has I feel like what Jack Mormons or inactive LDS members would say too if they were leaving the LDS faith.
That's what makes it interesting.
I don't know. That's what, I don't know. That's just me. I'm just getting those little vibes. I don't know if you are feeling that vibes or no.
Yeah, no, but here this comes back to our I agree 100%. This comes back to our conversation earlier on what is a cult, right? She says, I had to report on my daily activities. I had to request to go and see my family. It's highly controlled. You know what? If I took out the religion part of it, you know what that sounds like? A job. I have to report every day what I did, right? It's highly controlled, and I have to ask for permission to go see my family. When you want to go PTO, you have to ask for PTO. So this is a matter of perspective, right?
Yes.
And to say, oh, that's the reason why. Well, that's because it doesn't fit what you want and your perception of the world on what it means to be free. But it doesn't sound like that's anything illegal.
No.
Right? Like I agree. Like there's a reason why, there was a time I thought, oh, I'll join the military, right?
Yeah.
For a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I can handle being yelled at the way that they're yelled at. I don't think I can handle like certain things that are required of you to be in the military. So you know what? I said, not for me.
Okay.
Should I be running around and saying the military is a cult? They're bad. They're controlling. Blah blah blah. It's like no. I'll just be like, you know what? That's not for me. That's not how I perceive. That will make me happy. That I will enjoy and will let me grow or blah blah blah. But yeah. But to me, kind of going back to your point, that's the way I see it. Is like people who don't like the LDS faith because you have to pay tithing to go.
Yes,
do
no,
this.
I was just thinking like
you have
that.
To go
I have
on
the
a
rules
mission.
that
You have to do all
I've
this.
controlled my finances. If I can't do something, I can't get access to the temple, or you know what I mean. Just like they're so controlling, I don't know. I'm just like, and then
I mean,
I can see it like I can see it like other stuff like if your other families are non-members and they say you can't see your family. Let's just say if your husband is a non-member, they won't encourage you to see. I don't know. I just feel like
no, the same thing. Like if you're someone in your family's a non-member and you get sealed in the temple, they don't let the non-members into it. Oh, out control.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Here's another funny perspective, Masi. So should we be calling Polynesian families cults because they tell you when you bring money for the funerals?
Yeah.
They tell you everybody has to give. You have to tell them, whether you're going to be able to do something for the family or not. They'll tell you, you can't get your tattoos like that one video we saw.
Yeah.
You have to go ask your family to see if you can get your tattoos. Are those cults? Like, I mean, where do we draw the line? Like, where do we draw the line of when it's acceptable or not? That's why for me, if you're an adult, you work, you take care of yourself, and you're not breaking the law.
Yeah.
That's part of living in a free country.
Yeah. No, because too, I'm just thinking like, we all have some of our friends and stuff like when the family is asking for your contribution and then like you hear them and their spouse going at it like the spouse, man, your family always take everything. You know what I mean? Like, their spouse probably thinks their family's a cult. You know what I mean? Like, all these things. So I'm like, to me, it's so funny.
I can tell you from personal experience.
Yeah.
That's true. Married to a Palangi, right? We're in college. We have no money. I got 2 kids, third one coming on the way. Yeah. And then sending money for family or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And my wife being Palangi, and she goes, why are we sending money when we don't even have any money? And I'm like, okay.
No, and that's the thing, right? That's the funny thing, like what you said. Where's the damn line for these things? Because you can take it into all aspects of like even Polynesian families to marriages, especially you're married to somebody who's non-Polynesian on certain, like, dude, everyone, you can be a cult in anything you want to be. But it's just hilarious, man. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, good stuff, good stuff. And then we have I guess at least this guy is a theology lecturer. Of course, he's going to want this to be a big deal because that makes his department get recognized. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just saying everybody has a bias. Everyone has a reason to make something a cult.
Yeah, yeah.
Deceitful practices, and they are encouraged to lie to families and to friends in order to maintain their connection.
I crack up at that too, right? How many times will Ulmotu, our head of the family, is like, just tell your wife this is something that we have to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sacrifices would they wouldn't if you were to they tell you, it's like, just go tell them one more time. This is
Yeah.
the last one, even though everyone knows this is not the last. Right? I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
be careful, throwing rocks when your house is made out of glass as well, right? Like,
100%.
you just gotta be very careful, because what goes around sometimes is very applicable to you.
Yep.
With Xinjiang is gradually increasing. They're gradually infiltrating a lot of Pacific communities within their churches.
For nearly 2 years, I've received multiple invitations to join Shincheonji's Bible classes. I repeatedly declined, but it sparked my curiosity about the church and just how this 93-year-old Korean man, Lee Man-hee, gained more than
Mimi toho be siya mo daw barofita tua.
Yeah, but at least, but he looks like an anime character. I don't know if this guy takes Botox or something. Like,
well, Tua, you know about Korean. They're the number one country for surgeries done to their people. They're the number one cosmetic
really,
surgery.
I didn't know that. I
So
think
like what
this
you talk
guy's-
about with the looks,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
like it's a it has to be to perfection.
No, and that's the thing, because it is such a big part of the culture, right?
Yes.
Perception is, but I mean, look at him. It's like a white background. Like, this is all like staged to a T. Everything is white. The cross in the back, light. It's almost like he's glowing, right? Look at this perfect set of hair.
Yeah,
he's got going on, and he really, I mean, I don't know if it's the makeup, but he doesn't really have any wrinkles, and he looks plump. So I was like, dude, is this guy Botoxed or what? Like, what's going on?
That's what I'm saying. He's like, man, this guy looks like he might go get the 3 digits soon, and he's still gonna be going. Gee.
And that even adds to the whole thing of this guy is called of God, and me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is not my cup of tea, but hey.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
200,000 followers around the world.
Xinjiang,
including hundreds here in Aotearoa,
Shincheonji Church of Jesus.
in Fiji,
From HWPL, and they are volunteers.
in Samoa. And according to this Shincheonji map, the church operates in 9 other Pacific countries.
Hey, missionary work. We do the same thing.
My concern is, regardless of how distorted the theology is, sometimes we just don't have the capacity to discern that theological difference.
What's a parable that you look at to
I don't get that.
We don't
Did
have
you
the
get what he
discern
said?
to. He said we don't have the capacity to discern the what?
The theological difference.
I have no idea. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I don't understand how that is. Okay, all right.
The difference between truth and maybe, I don't know, a business. I don't know.
No, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. At what point is it operating like a business where this is about followers, quote unquote, customers?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where do we draw the line? I don't know.
Yeah.
differently now?
In Matthew 13, it's the woman with the yeast, that she mixes into flour.
Can you share what the woman of the with the yeast parable is?
Sorry, can I just pause for a bit?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Maybe it's easy to do the parable of the sower.
Can I, the parable of the...
Yeah, and how the seed, what the seed represents.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Parable of the sower, right?
we can say that. Oh, there's not even here.
Cool.
Yes, parable of sower. Tell me about the parable of the sower. What's the parable?
Parable of the
You
sower.
can tell she's uncomfortable.
So in the Bible, Jesus says a parable about how Wait, now I need to think of what the parable of the sower is. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all good.
Okay. Parable of the
Hey,
sower.
we all have hiccups, even when we go seminary. Sometimes we don't know the scripture and stuff.
No, and
And
that's
what
the
it means.
thing. It's
Yeah, you know.
you're it's a little bit unfair for her
Mm,
because now she is going to be posed as a representation of the entire religion, right? And we all know a lot of times religion is not always about a thorough understanding of the doctrine. It's about how you feel as a
mm,
community, how you feel accepted, and the Holy Ghost helping you,
yes,
right? Like first she was going to talk about the parable of the yeast, right? And that
yes.
is literally how Jesus says the three measures of the yeast. Even though it's small and you entered into the dough, it raises the whole dough. She's now going to talk about the or trying to talk about the seeds where it's on rock and then on the thorny bushes and then on the rich soil and all that stuff. But like you said, depending on who you talk to in any church, I can tell you right now, I could go to one of the members of the Reverend's church who called this a cult, and
Hmm.
I'll find one person that will react just like that.
That wouldn't know. Yes, yes.
Wouldn't know, right?
Yeah.
And why do they go to that church? Oh, because my mom said if I don't go to this church, she's going to smack me. Or
Yes.
my
Whole family
family always
goes.
goes to the church.
Yes,
So that's what we do.
yes.
So,
And people tend to even learn it later, way later in life. Not maybe in their
oh,
30s,
yeah,
later, way later. So everyone's journey is so unique and
different.
different, especially in a religion aspect and just learning, scriptures. And everyone's growth is different and
Oh,
understanding.
and that's the thing. That's why when someone tells me they go to church, as long as this church is not about killing people, it's
Yeah,
probably a good thing. At least go to church. Do
yeah,
something. Be involved with people. Be involved with the community. That alone is a positive. It
I
makes her
agree.
life better. I mean, it looks like she enjoys. I mean, I wouldn't enjoy the balloons,
Yeah,
right? I would. That in no way like is
that's
appealing to me. Let's go
that's a
stand in the
very
park.
Korean thing. Yes, that seems like a very
Yes,
Korean Asian
Korean
thing.
thing to
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Farmer who took a
We can
seed.
move on if you. We don't have to. We can move on if you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is that okay?
Are you happy?
Mhm.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Like, being at Shinjinji is the best decision I've ever made.
It just sounds like there's more.
See, her from her perspective, it's not about the technical knowledge. It's the way the community makes her feel,
That's what
right?
she holds
That's
valuable
what
to
she
her.
values.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for her, it's like it's a community. They give me somewhere to go meet. I feel like I have a group around me. That's what I want. Maybe in the
Mm.
other church she went to, she didn't have that. Maybe her
Yeah.
family, and we all know this, her family wasn't part of the cool group, right?
Yes.
They were kind of ostracized or outsiders. And so Shinjin-Z or whatever they came and provided that. Now, you can make the argument that that's what predators do, right? The
Yes.
predators go and find people who are a misfit for their community. And you can make that argument that maybe they're taking advantage of them, but so do businesses. Businesses poach other customers because they're dissatisfied. I mean,
Yes.
I just like, I don't know. It's
Just like
interesting to me.
I think of that Czech City in Provo, the one that you can, if you want instant cash, but they charge
Yes,
you a 10%, 11%
fee.
interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It, hey, it exists, but if you want something, and usually
yeah.
that businesses target very vulnerable people that
People.
usually, yes, that
And in
need
some states,
money.
it's illegal, right?
Yeah,
The loan shark. Some states, they make
yeah,
that illegal because they perceive it. And that's what I'm saying. For me, I think because of the situation, this should be viewed more for is it legal or illegal? Don't get into the theology. Don't get into, that kind of stuff because everyone has a different opinion. You need to get more into the legal aspects of this.
mm,
Than just the Bible studies. It sounds as if everything they say and do is very conditioned. It's very controlled.
Multiple ex-members told us that
Coming
was
from
their
people who want
experience.
government
They
to
didn't want to
regulate
be interviewed
everything.
on camera, but their stories echoed Laura's.
I had no time to myself whatsoever. So I would get up early in the morning and like be in meetings from early morning till late at night. There was a lot of pressure. If you have free time, it's like, why would you not be using that for God? Like, we were made to feel quite selfish if we weren't, or guilty if we weren't putting as much time as we possibly could into this work. I think a cult is a high control group that they have a leader that can't be questioned, which Shinchonji has. They have an
Works pretty well
ideology
for a
that
93-year-old.
can't be questioned, and they have a high.
So I have a question.
What's up?
If you question a leader or someone connected to the leader or in charge, and they throw you in jail for a year and a half, is that a cult? That's pretty controlling. Well, then I guess Ha'amoa is a cult, because that's what happened to that one guy.
Yeah, Sam or something, right? They were saying,
Yeah, Sam. So are we gonna say Ha'amoa is a cult because they questioned not even the leader, just someone connected to the leader, and they got thrown in jail for a crime, for a crime that they weren't even convicted of. They were just accused.
Yeah.
And even if they were convicted of the crime, it's a 3-month penalty. They've been in jail for almost 18 months. So is Ha'amoa a cult? Right?
No, and
I mean, yeah.
No, and that's the thing. The poor guy, Sam, he was trying to help the situation because he even went to the police. Turned himself in and turned himself in, not knowing that the police were gonna arrest him right then and there when he reported his phone in for evidence of the hit and run. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
A level of control over their members.
We must rule all nations in the world with heavenly culture.
Lee Man-hee claims here he's the only one who can interpret the Bible and teaches that anyone outside of Shinchonji has been corrupted by the devil and cannot enter heaven.
Anyone that challenges your
Now that's pretty strong claim right there.
Yeah, that's
know?
hey, seems pretty aggressive approach. Everyone has their delivery. It's a bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, that's why, and that's not a secret. It sounds like that's public knowledge. And if you're a grown person and you believe in that, hey, live in a free country.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking too. Like even some of our discussions, when we like go and teach other people, especially with the spiritual, the spirit prison, and then the paradise, who's gonna go to where during that time, everyone has their delivery. Some people, hey, I had some companions like, hey, if you don't get baptized and join our faith, you go to spiritual prison. And then the ones who baptize in our faith and do well and try to live a good life, go to a spiritual paradise. So everyone is different. And then there's some, are a little bit more decorative with how they deliver.
More politically correct, a little more
politically
sensitive.
correct.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I have a comment here from Facebook. Hey Nathan, how's it going? So he says, I would think it's more important developing a relationship with our Heavenly Father and accepting Jesus as our Lord and Savior than going to a church because it makes her feel good. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Masi?
Here's the thing, right? There's not many people I know. It has to come from some source. That developing your relationship with Christ, it comes from. It's a very different. It's a very different avenue. Sometimes you need to develop that thing. It's either you have somebody that that, like, let's just say if it's like a parent, right? A parent doesn't maybe like go to church, but they're still practicing certain deals like prayer. I feel like prayer, developing your relationship through prayer and certain trials and experience you experience in your life. That's probably had a hand of the Lord helping you in that situation. That's part of the whole developing that relationship with your Savior. But I do think a church, right? And it depends what church you go to, and that's why it's freedom of church. You got to search for the truth. There's a reason why the Lord came down and said, "This is my," when he got mad. I think of Christ going to the temple and he saw his people selling it like a market. Right? Did he do? He grabbed his whip and start whipping them and say, this is the Sabbath, this is the house of the Lord. You don't sell these. So why was that important? Obviously, it's a place that people should go and worship. Usually a church or a temple. So to me, that's what I think of. That church is still important. And if it makes you feel good, maybe. And I'm just thinking as a kid, reasons why I love going to church with my Tongan grandparents because they had the better food than the LDS church that my mom would go to. So that's
Kaipola,
what.
huh?
Yes, and I would go there and eat because I felt good eating with my other friends in the village and stuff because that's what obviously when you get older your priority changes and it could be just you have better friends there, you have good friends that uplift you, and then you just want to learn. Some people just go to church because they love Sunday school. Like it's everyone has their own reasons of going to church. But I do think church is an important thing because I'm just thinking if the Lord said the church was not having a church building or a church function for people to come and worship was not important, I don't think Christ would react in a way when he saw his people selling in the church building and not instead of selling, they were not praying kind of thing. I don't know. That's just me. What are your
No,
thoughts,
no,
Tua?
I agree. I mean, like you said, there's different stages in our lives of different things motivating us. To me, Nathan, this comes down to what is the perception an individual has on the role of the church, right? What's the role of the church? I mean, do you even need a church? I mean, I had cousins and friends who say you don't need a church. That's one idea, right? I have the Bible. But then you could also make the argument that Jesus tells you that you should gather regularly with the believers and worship, and even comes across as a commandment, right? And so, yeah, there are different ways to motivate you to go to church, whether it's, that we're social beings. We like being social, and that helps us. And at some point, we follow the Savior because he makes us feel good, right? Maybe not all the time. Sometimes we go through some challenges and suffering, but in total, we feel better when we follow the Savior and we feel good. So yes, to me, I understand your point there, Nathan, but I also understand, like for me, going to church every Sunday, is that like am I excited every Sunday? Not necessarily, but I do notice something. When I don't go to church, I notice something different, right? And when I do go to church, it's a lot more a positive impact on my week, over my month. And I have thought about it. It's not just that going to church, it's doing what God asks me to do. And I feel blessed for that.
No, and I'll just add on to it with Nathan's thing on his question too. I think of like even the COVID and even some countries in times of war and stuff. You're not going to church. You can do your prayers and you can your scripture study can be like your church thing. But to me, we're talking about, I'm just thinking in New Zealand and America and Australia, Tonga, Samoa, that if you have the ability that you're not in a constant war or nothing major is happening, then you should make the effort to go to church because I feel like it is
No,
an important
100%.
aspect.
100%. Just a couple more comments here. Well, those were using the temple as a business. I interpret as he was stating that wasn't its purpose and to get out. Well, this is the reason why I think that comment right there, Nathan, to me expresses why church is important. You need to go with your interpretation, your position, and discuss with believers who pray and who ponder these things, and you can have a good conversation back and forth that will uplift you and uplift others. That's the whole point of gathering as a church, is to uplift each other, right? So I think to me makes an argument of why church is an important thing from my perspective. Quick comment here from Cava Lake City. He says, Malo, welcome.
Welcome,
Lake.
Cava Lake
Welcome.
City.
will come back to Shinjin-ji.
Yeah.
Affiliation or your devotion to the Jinjanji movement, they should be disconnected. And their salvation also dependent on your affiliation and your commitment to the church.
Essentially, that means some people will stay in the church because they believe their family's salvation is dependent on them staying there.
Affirmative. That is correct. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous.
At the start of our
I
investigation,
don't know how
into-
that's dangerous.
Well, I'm just thinking about us too. I'm always like, when I hear the thing, I'm just thinking of like our faith. I'm just thinking, well, right? If I've made a covenant in the temple and that's dependent on my salvation, of course I'm gonna do everything I can to stay in that covenant. Where, you know what I mean? That covenant where I made a promise to do everything I can to keep that covenant until my time on this earth is done. So I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, see,
I don't know.
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of that?
No, but that's the
that
thing.
exchange?
I'll restate my. They're making the position that they feel forced to stay in there because their devotion will have a direct impact on blessing other people, right? What's the difference between that and the grandma who goes to the Siestonga or the Catholic Church who says, I'm going every day and being dedicated to pray to God because I want God to bless my children and my grandchildren. And I'm trying to bless them and sacrificing on my end time, energy, and devotion to bless them. That's the same thing, right? The only difference is we're comfortable with the Catholic, the Anglican, the Protestant, the Seventh Day, and all. We're comfortable with those guys. And so there are people who do that. There are people who do it in the LDS church. I know a lot of Catholic people. They go to the masses because they feel, you know what? If I don't go, then my son or my grandson will not see my example, and I want to work to get them blessings to hopefully bring them back to the church. That's a universal thing to me in religion. But to try and isolate it, this is why, like I said, this is why I think the founding fathers were very wise. Religion, it is a personal thing with God, and it can look very unacceptable very quickly between people.
Yeah.
Because religion is not always driven by economics or military strength. It is beyond the material world. So let's just try and follow reasonable laws and ask if this is a legal problem, then you can have it in the legal realm. But trying to argue against it in a theological position, especially when we're just talking about devotion and freedom to choose, those arguments that you throw at them will quickly reverse and come back. When I talk about devotion and whether it's a cult, now you can have biblical and doctrinal discussions, right? Like for the gentleman who says, I'm the only one who can interpret the Bible. And that could be like, so why did Jesus call 12 apostles?
Correct. Yes.
Right? Like you could have those kind of discussions on on doctrine.
Theological doctrine.
Yes. You can have those discussions, but you
History,
can't go,
yeah.
you can't be like, when you're too devoted. Well, Jesus says, let the dead bury the dead. You come follow me. Right? These same people would have called Jesus a cult.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm saying when you kind of get into someone's devotion and their willingness, you're not, to me, it's not an effective way to just say, oh, you're overly devoted. No, you can have legal discussions and you can have doctrinal discussions as to what makes sense. But trying to say, oh, you're too devoted. But then I'll tell you this, when the Fakaafe comes for the Shestonga Westiana Tawataina, they'll say, you know, if you sacrifice for the Fakaafe, God will bless you. Right? Even though you're going to lose financial, you might not, but if you sacrifice, God will give you blessings, and blessings are better than money. And with the whole principle, I agree with the principle. Sometimes giving up financial gain to get certain blessings, to me, is worth it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
No, and I think we kind of touched on it too, about getting closer to God when you're always struggling and in a hardship, right? Like would sacrifice, not hardship like in a sense like your poverty. I'm just saying when you're working, you feel closer to God when you feel like you're working towards and sacrificing your time and effort on things, whether that be like doing more for others. Because I'm always thinking of those outfit things, man. Those things are like
They ain't
every
cheap.
year, every year they do that. Man, that ain't easy. But I'm just saying, like sometimes everyone has their journey when different, whatever their sacrifice is, whatever for their religion. Um, you do tends to feel closer to have I don't know to God in my sense. Whether who knows what level of deep, I just know it's when you that makes you to pray, that makes you do certain things when you need that extra lift, whether that may be to wake up early to attend a church meeting for the whole day. Because I'm when she was like saying go to church the early morning, I think of like our local and regional church leaders who wake up at 6:30 in the morning and don't get home till 8 o'clock at night.
Nighttime.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
everything is different. Everything is different, but I'm just
So let me put this scenario. Imagine someone in New Zealand, right, who lives out in the wild and his clothing is sheepskin that he probably killed and put on him. He's eating bugs and he's teaching and baptizing people, and thousands of people are coming to him, right? And he's speaking out that the Christian religions out there now have departed from the way of God, and that he is preparing everyone for God to come back. Everyone would call him a cult. Everyone would call him dangerous. You know who I just described? John the Baptist from the New
yeah,
Testament, right?
yeah,
So that
yeah,
so we gotta be very careful, like trying to make some theological devotion as a problem or being quote unquote a cult because it's a small group and they don't fit in with the rest. That's literally what the Savior was doing. That's what John the Baptist was doing. That's what all of this, that's what Moses was doing with the house of Israel when he led them out of Egypt.
yeah,
Like, be very careful with that. Look at, is it legal? And number two, have a doctrinal discussion and debate and say, this is why
yeah,
I believe what I believe. Why do you believe what you believe? This is no different than what we're having with the Polynesian history and astronomy. It's the same
yeah.
thing. I believe
No, and
this, you
yeah,
believe that. Let's look at what looks to be facts. What is common ground? Where do we disagree? And then let everyone decide what they want to believe after that.
yeah. No, and that's another thing we're kind of with. I think was it Jacob's question or Nathan's question of attending church. You have some really good discussion. Just even like just say amongst your let's just say fellow faith, because you'll be amazed on everyone's different
What they
ideas,
know. Yeah.
what they know, and that's the kind of whole point of kind of gathering that once a week to kind of have those discussions, and they call it like your class, and you're gonna share everyone's kind of ideas. You'd be amazed, even though you're in the same
Yeah.
faith, but everyone has a different perception on how to achieve a certain aspect of a certain part of a faith or objective. So
This is why people who work in a company meet regularly. This is
yeah,
why teams in sports meet regularly,
yes,
because people that gather together with the same goal, same mindset, you're talking about those things, you get closer to the goal. You get
mm,
closer to what you're thinking of when you come together as a group, as a team, as a business, and talk about your goals, talk about what's important to you, be creative with ideas to achieve your goals. There's some very practical reasons as well of why going to church regularly, if you believe in God, meeting with people you believe in the same concepts with. So
yeah,
all right, let's come back here.
Shinchonji was willing to put forward members to be interviewed. We told the church's PR person, Alistair, a former TVNZ journalist, that the story would address allegations and include a range of voices. We made repeated requests over 3 months to interview Shinchonji New Zealand's leader, known as Christy. She agreed, then cancelled twice and wasn't available for a phone or Zoom interview either. Then, at 10:30 p.m. on October 20th, I received a text from Alistair asking to meet with senior leader Ula the following morning.
We've just met with the Shincheonji leader and they want to pull the story. They're worried about how it will impact their members, and they're also worried about the other voices we have in this story, how it might make
Why
them
you
look.
shouldn't have started it if you didn't want it.
I have really asked them to rethink that. We really want them to have a fair opportunity to represent themselves. And we want you as the viewer to see both sides of the story and for it to be balanced. So they're going to go away and decide, and we'll see what they think.
She seems to be a pretty big reporter now. She's done Indira.
Indira. She's actually been a lot of in the news for a while. So she's well respected within the industry. Definitely.
That's awesome.
I'm just thinking too, and this is maybe my thing against the church. I'm a big believer. If you have the truth, you shouldn't be afraid to at least come and do the interview or debate. I'm a big believer in and this is the thing, right? Some people in my faith, they don't like debating. They don't like clashing on certain things.
They feel uncomfortable. They think it's wrong.
Uncomfortable. They think it's wrong. It's too aggressive. It's not in their thing. It's not Christ-like, right? I'm a version. We're not just saying bashing or whatever. I'm just saying it's important to have people to debate your faith and why you believe it, because I'm a big believer. If you really believe it's true, you should be more emboldened to stand on it. That's my thing. And to me, I think the leader should have at least speak with Indira and explain their positions on why this is their definition of the true gospel, that they want to share it with everybody to receive their salvation. To me, they should have done the interview that way.
No, 100%. I agree. And not only they should have done the interview, but you know what made it worse, in my opinion? That they said yes and then backed out. If you're not going to do the interview or the story, don't do it at all. But once you commit to it, you should be willing to follow through with it. It's a little too late, after they've already done some interviews, already had the conference, and then halfway through it, tried to say, oh, we're not going to do it. I was like, that doesn't help you. That actually makes you look worse. Like when Indira comes out and says that, I'm like, you know what? Maybe you guys aren't as confident about your position as you say you are, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not doing something illegal, but maybe you're doing something that even you don't believe in.
Yeah, no,
So,
I agree.
yeah, it gets
That's kind of
sketchy when they didn't come.
Yeah, that's my thoughts there. If you believe, you shouldn't be afraid to debate your faith in an open platform, because if you believe it's true, you should be able to stand on it. So they should have came and done it, like what you mentioned, Dua.
100%.
Hey, I know that church. Mangere.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Mangere.
A few of the Pacific Island churches had formed an MOU with Shincheonji. And based on that news, we had formed a few workshops, and a lot of them were quite shocked.
I remembered the comment that was made at the lecture. They said the name of their church was New Heaven,
New Earth.
New Earth. And that was the next red flag.
That's the English translation of Shincheonji, but the church is known by many names around the world, including these. A former Shincheonji leader told us that since 2019...
So basically, this is a business with subsidiaries. What name do we want to name that'll fit in the community?
Yeah, depending on which country,
marketing.
which culture. Yeah.
That's funny.
More than 24 Pacific churches in New Zealand have signed a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with Shincheonji. Pastor Chris Soller could have been one of them.
Most Sundays we have visitors, but for some reason that particular Sunday they stood out for me. There were 3 of them. I asked them where they come from, and they said, oh, we've come to visit your church because we want to connect with your church. I said to them, look, I know who you are, I know what you're about, and I know why you're here. And your motives are unrighteous as far as I'm concerned, and I'd like you to leave right now. And so I escorted them to the door. Had I not gone to that workshop, I probably would have welcomed them in, hoped they'd stay. So that workshop may have saved our church in a way.
Why do you think they target Pacific people? Are we easy targets?
I think we are. We're not easy targets because we're silly or anything. We're easy targets because of our love for people.
Hello. Good. How are you? It was a goal of theirs to reach out to the Pacifica population, because once one Pacifica person joins, they often bring like their families and their friends, because they have like really tight-knit communities, especially in their churches.
Are Pacific people the fastest growing demographic in the church?
Yes, definitely.
The last time we met with Shinchonji's PR person, you'll remember the church wanted us to pull this story and we refused. But they also wanted me to tell them who else I'd spoken to in the story and what they'd said about Shinchonji. And I refused to give them that information too. But it seems like they've had a change of heart and they've invited us to their temple to interview one of their Bible instructors. They've also promised us the church's senior spokesperson in a couple of days. So now we're heading to the Shinchonji temple in Auckland. So tell me about this room.
This is the room that we have service and we gather.
Do you call this your temple?
So this is like the sanctuary, and it's the main space where we do our worship. And it looks very clean and empty. In each country, this graduation was hosted. And it's quite festive. You can see some fireworks, and these are some of the performances.
Super Bowl.
I know.
And tell me about this guy.
So this is the chairman of the church.
Lee Man-hee founded Shinchonji in 1984. And since the church has grown, now many of his followers believe he's immortal and infallible. In 2021, he was convicted of embezzling $8 million of church funds and obstruction of public affairs.
Is he seen as the messenger?
The messenger, yes.
He is the way to God?
Yes, it's something that all believers should verify as well and check. And
do you believe that?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, that's what we asked too.
27-year-old Jared, also known
Pray,
as Donnie,
ponder.
joined 4 years.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed, Mussy, is the young woman earlier and him, they seem like very tender-hearted people.
Yeah.
Right? Relatively soft-spoken. Like I said, like I feel for one reason or another, they may have just not fit in. Right? And and I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, sometimes that's just the way it is. We just don't fit in. And so we find places that we fit in at, right? Like somewhere that we feel accepted. And then we can contribute better. It's, you go to one rugby team, you just don't feel like it's a good fit. You go to another rugby team. Oh yeah, culture, the people, just feels like this feels good for me. This looks like a place I can grow.
And you're right. It's the same thing with the different kind of wards. Even though we have people who are non-Tongan, non-Samoans, but they want to go to a Tongan or Samoan ward because they feel like it fits their personality and who they are as people compared to their traditional wards in their boundary. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of gives me, those kind of vibes.
Kind of
Not
feelings, yeah.
Yeah. And it's some people do that for a change. Sometimes people don't like their ward for whatever reason. They just don't feel like they connect with their fellow saints, and they always look, and then they kind of you can search if there's a different ethnic ward or language ward. They check it out, and they feel like even though they don't understand maybe fully, they pick it out here and there, but they feel connected more to the people in those wards, in those other wards. So
100%.
Years ago, he gave up his nursing career to be a full-time volunteer at Shinchonji, New Zealand. Before we arrived, we were given a script with questions and pre-prepared answers. I still asked my own questions.
How do you embrace your Pacific culture in a place like Shinchonji?
For myself, growing up, in a Pacific family. It's not just your mom and your dad. And for me in Shincheonji, our leaders as well, they're like our parents as well. Sometimes you get the hard word, like, hey, is this the right way or not? But those
Straight
are
from the
also
chairman
places
himself.
from
If you don't get
that come
salvation
from love.
without him, man.
Do you evangelize?
Yes, we evangelize quite a lot.
You don't get salvation unless you hear it from the immortal man himself with Botox and dyed black hair at 94 years old.
Well, shit.
Where do you evangelize?
I'm so sorry,
yeah.
but we might not be able to say much about evangelism. What do you think? Would that be more for Alicia or?
I'm just thinking about the previous question as well. Like, is that something that is accurate?
Oh, when he was talking about like
leaders.
leaders.
I think it's quite accurate.
Should I redo it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what.
This was one of several interruptions during Jared's interview by Shincheonji's PR person and a senior member.
Can we talk about evangelizing?
Yeah, I think evangelism is fine because you were talking about the events or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no.
Are you comfortable with me asking that?
Yes.
Okay.
When you first asked that, I was trying to think of a way to put it concisely. What I had in mind is evangelism is sharing the joy that we have in the Word with other people. More and more, and day by day, the Word is reaching across the globe and even into the Pacific.
Do you work?
Yeah, so I have a background in nursing, how I've put that aside. So I'm full-time in the church at the moment.
Full-time volunteering?
Yeah, full-time volunteering.
Do you tithe?
Yep, I give the tithe. So in the Bible, it's encouraged 10% as well, but it's less about the amount you give, but more of the heart that you give out of the tithe or the offering.
Tithing is a biblical principle encouraging church members to donate 10% of their income to the church.
If you're a full-time volunteer, how do you tithe?
I tithe, so I've also saved up an amount from working in the world as well. And I'm living on a budget. And I tithe what I can, when I can. Every obstacle that's come, God's been helping me to navigate, whether it's through being sponsored or someone who's come out or family or whatnot.
You mentioned being sponsored?
Yeah, so sometimes when things that I need help with or...
Yeah, I think sorry, because this might be, no, I understand, because it's like the curiosity to know, like, how do you get by if you're working full-time here.
And I think it'd just be what the audience would be like, oh, how do you survive? That's kind of a natural question.
Yeah.
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm putting words in your mouth.
Well, you are. I mean, you are putting words in your mouth, but you're the PR person, right? That's how you justify your job.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, Tua. I understand the whole volunteer. You volunteered. I volunteered about 2 years, right? How did we survive that full volunteer? The church helps and supports the missionary to kind of, not a lot of money, but just to get by for your daily needs, and you just kind of allow for your kind of full-time volunteer. And I feel like maybe that was kind of like when you were trying to say maybe get sponsorship by someone within the church to allow him to volunteer his time, but to help him pay for his necessary needs. I'm just thinking
basic needs,
because I can try to trying to understand that maybe somebody who doesn't understand like how you getting your at least your basic needs, and I feel like he was gonna touch something like that, but the PR just being very sensitive is been a little bit too sensitive.
See, but that's the thing. I think they're hurting their cause. I think they're being overly sensitive, right? Like they're so concerned with, and this is, like I said, this is probably driven. I'm looking at this from that kind of that Korean, Japanese culture of they're so concerned about every little detail. That's like sometimes getting a little too much into worrying about the details backfires on you, right? But I don't know. It's I mean, this guy seems like a nice guy. He seems pretty genuine. It seems like he's sincere in his beliefs, and I'm like, unless they're doing something illegal, I mean, this guy's a grown man. He's a nurse. He's intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Profession that requires a lot of skills and on its own. So
Yeah.
he's not a dummy.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, to me, I just like interesting.
Very interesting for sure.
Interesting.
Because we wouldn't want anyone to think that they're like pressured to do this or
No one's forced me. Yeah. That's what I've appreciated the most, my autonomy and my choice. Sorry, I don't know what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of ex-members.
That comment didn't help. He's like, it's my choice. And then right after that, he goes, I don't know what's right or wrong.
Hey,
Dale,
and sometimes
dale.
he's experiencing it too, and then he'll find out, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he'll go through this and he's like, yeah, you know what? I just wasted a bunch of my money and time with Shinjin Z, maybe. Or maybe he'll be like, you know what? This helped me get closer to God. I don't know. know. This is why freedom of religion. You just let people live what they believe and they're not breaking the law. Okay.
Who have left Shinchonji, New Zealand, say that it's a cult. Is it?
That's not been my experience. I've always felt like this is my decision, and at any time, if I'm not comfortable, then I don't have to do it.
I told myself that it was what I wanted, that it must be from God, and it was a chance to become the kind of Christian I really wanted to be.
Decult.
I'm seen as a betrayer. So
that's like anti-racist.
I was like, oh, that's just fine. I was just like, look at decult conference. Interesting. Like we talked about, everyone can be a cult in their own unique way. Their families can be a cult.
You like cars too much, you're a cult member. You like football too much, you're a cult member.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's funny.
There's nothing worse than someone who's known the truth and then turned their back on it. A big part of the Bible study is that they have members who are called maintainers, like the girl who I first met, who are actually part of Shinchonji, but they pretend that they're first time learning it just like you. And so you only find out right before joining the church that actually they're part of this already and have been the whole time.
Certificate of evangelism.
So they have basically spies. I know where Tulsi Gabbard can go and hire some spies is from go to the Shinjin Z guys.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I need to infiltrate something.
Tua, South Korea is neighbor to North Korea. They're master at spying at each other. Shit, yeah.
Dale, Masi, how about this?
Yes, Kim Jong-un. Maria Water Bears. So that's what I'm thinking. Hey, we need to find out if that chairman is a de facto
North
Korean. From North Korea, and then he's implementing some of these things.
No, you're right. There. You're right. He's Kim Jong-un's cousin. He kind of looks like him. Maybe he lost weight, but Kim Jong-un, and he's setting up terrorist cells around the world. So when Little Rocket Man decides to launch, he has cells all over the world to implement the grand plan.
Grand plan. Man, that's funny.
The certificate is awarded to Penina America.
We interviewed Penina on October 4th. 3 weeks later, she was presented with an award at this graduation ceremony in Korea by Lee Man-hee himself for her evangelism, recruiting 14 members to the church.
Graduate Penina America brought 14 people.
That's her entire family. I'm telling you, that's probably Polynesians. That's probably the Polynesian strength. Everyone is with their families and the connection with your extended family. That's probably 14 of her families and relatives.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
But here's what I think is kind of like, I'm one of those, the way my brain works, right? They're accusing this Shinjun Z of taking advantage of Polynesians, and I'm hearing it from another pastor.
Yeah.
Over Polynesians. And then the first thing that comes to my mind is, are you taking advantage of them? If you're saying that they're attracted to the Polynesians because they come in droves of groups, Then I'm like, is that why you're a pastor of Polynesian? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just why the way
No,
my brain thinks.
no, and that's fair because right at the end of the day, everyone's paying tithing to which church, right? So if you're taking 14 members to pay their tithing to you, it's going to Gen Z. Of course, you're gonna be a little pissed off, right? And
Yeah.
that's right, and that's the unique thing about we don't have questions with our like especially our local leaders because everything is done. They're not paid, right? They're not paid.
Yeah.
It's easy for them to kind of answer questions and stuff. But most pastors, you're paying for their wages and not only wages and their accommodation,
Housing. Yeah.
and everything. I mean, of course they would think that taking
That's what I'm
advantage.
saying. That to me is
Yeah.
what's ironic, right?
Yeah.
Here's a pastor who's getting paid and accommodations, accusing another pastor who's using money to get paid for his accommodations, and you're pointing the finger over there. It's like, okay, maybe you're just upset, like you said, I lost 14 customers. And the other guy is celebrating, I got 14 customers.
Yeah. Yeah. And celebrating by giving her a certificate, in the whole graduation.
Yeah. And a trip to Korea. Who's going to argue with that? I would like a trip to Korea.
Yeah,
if I convert to Shenzhen Z, do I get a free diploma and a trip, Masi?
I think so. You'll be the first one in San Antonio, Texas, to start. You'll be
To
the
start
one
it over
member
here.
started over here. The go-to person.
That's funny.
Get some of that
For
USD flow.
going on to 2 years now, one night I was scrolling on social media and I came across an ad that was advertising a free Bible course. So I clicked on it. I didn't really think much into it. On my first day of going to class, like honestly, I went into...
This was 2022?
Yeah. No, sorry.
When did you start the Bible course? Sorry, yes.
Sorry, last year. Last year in August.
You finished the Bible course, so 6 to 8 months, that would be around April, and then you get an opportunity to join the church?
Yes.
So you've been a member of the church for about 5 months now, is that correct?
Yes, sorry. I like to say over a year because of being in the course. I already felt like a member.
And graduate Penina America abroad, 14 people.
The dates didn't seem to add up. New recruits must...
I need to join. That's a way to get a diploma right there, man. Less than a year. I just need to bring 14 people, get my diploma. I'll take it.
That's very...
Complete Shincheonji's 8-month Bible course first before being allowed to become members. I asked Shincheonji if Penina had ever acted as a maintainer or plant in their Bible courses. They didn't respond.
In Shincheonji, a lie isn't necessarily a lie. A lie could be considered wisdom if it's being told to fulfill God's will.
Other ex-Shincheonji members echoed this claim.
They kind of encourage people to lie. They use scripture to make up these things, and they'll be lying to you.
It's okay if you're trying to win somebody to the Lord, to God. It's okay to deceive. It's okay to lie.
Things that they use were saying, look, lying is good. Like, if you're lying for God, it's actually a good thing.
I mean, the whole system is...
What do you think of that, Tua? What do you think of that?
Let me put it this way, okay? You can't come after the fact and blame them if you believe that.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, at the end of the day,
true.
you have your own...
If it's true, right? You can't blame someone who says, Tua, all you have to do is give me $10,000 and tomorrow I'll give you 10 million. Right? I'll be like, something about that doesn't sound right. Right?
Yeah.
When someone comes and says, Tua, it's okay to lie if you're lying for God. Now, you can technically make biblical arguments for that. Okay? Because Abraham lied, right? Like
Give
he
example.
lied to the he went to the Egyptians and told him that his wife was his sister. And then the Pharaoh tried to marry his wife. And then an angel came or something, I think it was an angel, came, or they had bad luck or something, and then they went back to Abraham and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And then Abraham said, "Oh, my bad, I lied. She's actually my wife." Right? Then you have Jacob and his mom. Esau was the firstborn, and they go to Isaac, and his mom tells him, "Go and tell your dad that you're Esau," and even put like sheep hair on him, to get the blessing. So now, granted, those you can make quote unquote reference certain stories, but at the same time, if you have an understanding of God and what you believe in, like me, like you would have to make a judgment. Like, am I lying? Because like if somebody comes to my door and I'm hiding a Jew and I'm in Germany, and the soldier comes and goes, "Do you have Jews in your house?"
Yeah.
Is lying, is that bad? That line? I said, "No, I don't have any." No, because you have degrees of truth, of things that matter more. Okay. Now you can make that argument and then say it, but at the same time, I don't think it's the same moral ground of lying to protect someone's life and saying to believe in a lie in order to be saved. To me, I'm like, no. If this is the truth, it stands on its own legs to convince someone that it's the truth, right? But I find it somewhat convenient that, oh, they encourage you to lie, and then you went and lied, and then for whatever reason you're unhappy now, then you're now going to complain that and blame them for your lie. And I was like, you know what's better? You just say, "Hey, look, I agreed. I thought it was a good idea. I now think it's a bad idea.
I made a
But
mistake.
I can see why other people would think it's okay." Right? I just disagree with it now. What I don't like about what those people are saying is they're coming across as, "I didn't do anything wrong. I was just manipulated." And I'm like, I think you may have known it wasn't a good idea, but you did it anyway. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's just my perspective. But now they are acting like they didn't have any knowledge. They don't have any responsibility or accountability.
Yeah.
It's only Shinjin Z or whatever, which I don't agree with that tactic. But at the same time, I think they should take ownership of, I made that mistake. Not, they didn't force me to believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. There's no accountability of him saying, "I made the mistake. I did think this was a good idea. Obviously, it wasn't, and I just got out." But to say that I was deceived and that they encouraged me to lie my way through the church and that it was a good thing, I was like, from what I see, I don't see any forceful intimidation of anybody there. It's just they're having people come in. People are doing it freely, and it's funny. It's not only them, and they're the ones who are looking for advice for the other people, and that is in their own choosing. If they choose, the people say, "No, don't have to share about it," and they say, and they because they respect them, dude, just let that's what they feel, and they follow their advice and just keep going. It's not, to me, that's it's the same thing when people believe in certain information and other people who believe in a different information, and then you have different outcomes. And it's just depending on what you read, what you watch is what you have your opinions on, or your decision to come out. So that's just me. I don't, yeah, it's a bit interesting.
Yeah. To me, it's funny. It's just an interesting, it just kind of to me shows how, as human beings, how we perceive the world around us and other people's ideas and what they believe, and how much bias we all have. I have bias. I lean towards a way of thinking and believing. I try to be open-minded, but I can't deny, well, there's certain ways of thinking and behaving that I definitely prefer, and it'll take much harder for someone to change those than other
Yeah.
ideas that I have, right? Like
Yeah.
Miss South Pacific and who should have won? Either way, I really don't have a preference. I'm fine if Miss Samoa, and I think it should stay with the Miss Samoa because the decision was made. It doesn't make any sense to go backwards. You know, other things about my religious belief and some of my politics and social beliefs, I'm starting to settle into some of those beliefs that it's a lot more difficult to change those. So yeah, I mean, this to me is very interesting to see this. And like you said, I'm just kind of looking at like maybe disgruntled people. I lean more towards disgruntled rather than earnest desire to help others make the best decisions for themselves.
Tua, and I come across many YouTube channels of disgruntled LDS members who say they've been manipulated and lied their whole entire lives, and now they see the truth and they just say how they've been no accountability of what they were doing or whatever. And to me, that's why it just gave me those same vibes for some reason. When I was hearing those ex-believers, it just gave me those same vibes of just ex LDS members, ex Mormon kind of thing. So yeah,
not 100%.
Built on reporting. You're constantly getting reported on. You're completely unaware of it, but the maintainers, the plants in the class are reporting on you and how you're doing.
To who?
To, well, me as a leader.
See?
And we would also report to like the head of the ministry.
What did people report
So
to
she
you?
was
What kind of
directly
detail?
involved. She was leading
well,
it.
anything really that they think might be relevant, and even things that are completely irrelevant, like really personal details that a student might be sharing with who they think is their friend, are just about things that they're going through, and all of that is getting reported to the teachers and then other leaders, and nothing is a secret. And I felt a bit uncomfortable with that, but I also thought this is how we're helping each other. Like I thought it was important.
How do you feel about that, knowing what you know now?
Well, it makes me really sad.
As she's smiling.
Because obviously I no longer think that it's the truth. It's like you're going through something that no one on the outside can understand. You're on this mission together to save the world. It's kind of intoxicating. But my day-to-day life was not happy. It was really desperate and sad.
After 3 months of chasing, we've had a bit of a breakthrough. Last night, I get a text at around 10 p.m. that Christy is available to meet me right then and there at my local McDonald's just down the road, and not for an interview, just for a chat. So I've asked to reschedule for this morning, and we're going to go down and meet her.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for meeting this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
that's the end of part 1.
Oh, that's the end. I was like, what? They're not going to show it? Oh, all right. All right.
No, because I'm thinking too, like with the whole reporting stuff. I mean, we're not like plants, but I'm just thinking like, you know, for ministering, I have 2 families that I'm supposed to go and visit, and you know, at the end of the day, you meet with your elders quorum president, or for the
Talk
women,
about any
in their
needs.
any need. You're pretty much reporting how your visit went, and that gets funneled to the bishopric. But we're not like so-called plants. But I think it's some kind of, you know, it's just every church organization has their own ways of. Obviously, the Jinzanzu have their plants they put in the classroom. That's the way they're doing their ministry. Everyone is different, you know. You know. I get the same Jehovah Witnesses that are I think they're in charge of our street because they live in our
Every
area.
Saturday.
Their ministry is they come and knock on our door. So I mean, every religion church is different. Some is, you know, they put them in the classroom and they report on the new students who come in and how their experience. And maybe it's to improve their experience in the Sunday school. I don't know. But everyone, I'm just saying, it's nothing new. The Jinzazi, every religion has a different form of teaching and spreading their wings to get to the other flocks of the of the world kind of thing. But I don't know. It's just funny. It's just funny.
uh, no, it's good. I mean, I think Indira is doing a great job overall,
Mm,
and she's asking some of the questions I would ask, so I appreciate that. I think this is obviously a topic that's important to the Polynesian community, so I'm glad Indira is going in and digging into it and making this something that's available to people. And I'm glad because now I never knew who or what they were, never
yeah.
heard of them.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, it's kind of interesting. Is it my cup of tea? No, but if someone went to it, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I don't doesn't bother me. It's not like I'm not going to hang out with you. Now, if you want to talk about doctrinal stuff, yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Like,
Yeah.
why do you believe why is Mr. whatever his name
Yeah.
the only one that can interpret the Bible? I have questions about that,
Yeah.
just like someone would have questions on the LDS church and why we believe what we believe. And I enjoy discussing those things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and having those conversations. But that's pretty much what we got. We're done. We're hitting over the 3-hour mark.
Mm.
I'll just kind of give some final thoughts. Masi, I'll give it to you to close us out, but really want to thank all the viewers and the listeners for the support. We're continuing to grow, appreciate it. Last week and a half, 2 weeks has been a little chaotic on my end, a lot of travel. I've been traveling for work, and a lot of other things, but really grateful for all of the viewers, all the comments and the sharing online. Please, if there's any topics or ideas that you guys have, we got a couple of them that we're digging into, and even guests. Mussie's working on a couple. There's a couple I need to follow back up with. One from Tonga and one for someone from the Cook Islands, I think.
Nice.
Is it the Cook Islands?
Nice.
I think he lives in the Cook Islands. He served his mission in Tonga, married a Rarotongan, and lives in Rarotonga. So, yeah, that's the content we got coming. And appreciate everyone. Masi, you can close us out.
All right. Well, hey, thank you everyone for always engaging with us. Appreciate your guys' follow and support. Um, we hope to get some new interviews coming up, just like what Tua mentioned. Love you guys all. And two things that we always leave the show is stay curious and ask the hard questions. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace.